It's a Wall Pass Wednesday here on Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. Busy, busy, busy. We have stuff. That's the official term. We've got stuff to talk about this morning. 9 o'clock hour. Here's your traffic. 9 o'clock hour is the weekend. Wow, that's $1. Midweek Whiparound. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. We're going to go over all of the games, all of your Atlanta United questions going into the match up in Foxborough against New England Revolution. We'll get into that. And then at 10 o'clock, morning Sean, morning Ricky, as life allows. Hopefully Dylan Butler can join us from MLSsoccer.com and OSDB Sports at 10 o'clock. Bart Keeler joining us at 10:30 for his traditional weekly visit. Because there's a lot of stuff to talk about with Bart. You've got Gold Cup. You've got the Gold Cup semifinals. We'll talk about the U.S. tonight at 7:30, and then Mexico-Panama is at 10:30 tonight. And yet, Ricky, as a part of Bart's segment, because of it being Soccer for USPOD, this is where we'll get into the USL Pro-Rel discussion, because Bart had made some points, and the folks from Soccer for USPOD made points yesterday on their social media about it when the announcement was made. We'll get into it there. So in the 10:30 segment, 10:30 half hour, and I still get the impression that with everything going on, with all of the news overseas, players moving, all the news, all that kind of stuff, and considering it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, we're probably going to go long. So do not be surprised if we do not stop at 11:05. You've got Gold Cup semifinals tonight. We'll get into each matchup with Bart. We'll find out what he thinks about what's going on. Captain America, Christian Pulisic, has landed apparently, and he's getting ready for the promo photos and the physical and everything for his new employ. And we'll get into the USL issues at 10:30, and we'll get into that with Bart because there is stuff to talk about there. Morning, Abby. So as all of your questions come to the fore on a Wall Pass Wednesday, and that's what this is for. Questions about anything. Anything. Could be, could be ice cream, could be staying out of the heat, whatever. Wall Pass Wednesday, that's what it's there for. So, and I know that Tafka and D. Graham were getting into the discussion, morning, Alex, about whether or not we should have the discussion about the USL announcement. It's news, and it is something that was put forth by our friends over at The Athletic, and it's something that needs to be discussed in a news sense and the caveats that can be attached therefore or therein. So we'll get into it this morning, and we'll get into it 10:30 half hour with Bart, in addition to Gold Cup and everything else that's going on with the world from a U.S. perspective. And Michael Head, hopefully Pulisic's time at Milan will be better than his legacy, in quotation marks, at Chelsea. And I know this is where we need to bring in Nick. So whenever Nick's real world doesn't intervene, and we can discuss what's been going on in Serie A, because Nick has been slightly fired up about it. So we will be discussing all of that. And when Nick has free time, we will definitely be getting into it with him, Lukaku, all those things. A lot of folks are looking at moving their next career steps to the Saudi League. Alexander Mitrovic is a part of that as well, so we'll get into that. Like I said, I think we're going longer than 11:05 this morning. We'll get into it, and we'll rock and roll. Jared Smith is now joining us. And good morning, Jared.
Good morning, John.
Hello,
John. Hello,
yes.
John. Hello,
Yes.
John.
It's like 2001 Space Odyssey all of a sudden now. We're going to get into Midweek Whip around here in just a little bit. But I was kind of laying everything out this morning. Hopefully Dylan can join us at 10 o'clock if the real world doesn't intervene. And then getting into the USL discussion at 10:30 and Gold Cup and everything, because the title of Bart's show is the Soccer for USPOD. So we'll get into all of the USL stuff and Pro-Rel. And like I said, I know that D. Graham and Tafka were getting into a bit of a discussion. It did. Well, yeah, when Jarrett keys in, sometimes it'll EQ the volume on both sides. So.
Y'all ever seen the movie Airplane, the
Yes.
cinematic classic?
Yes.
You know how Jack pulls the runway lights at the end of the movie when Stryker's trying to land the plane. Yeah, Jack's in the background, like the lights went out, and he's standing there holding the plug in a maniacal way, and then puts the lights back in. That's me, except that's John's microphone.
Bam's in this morning. Good evening. Feeling sad for Zambia's first choice keeper being ruled out of the Women's World Cup with an ACL injury, and so there's plenty of stuff to discuss this morning.
You could build an all FIFA team with the number of players that have been out for this Women's World Cup, and it sucks.
Yeah, you could.
I mean, there's still going to be some really fun players from multiple countries involved. We can get into it, coming up with Bart this month, especially.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, you're not joking, man. There's a lot of women who are not going to be able to take part, and who either are stars or were set for that star turn.
Mm-hmm. It is.
What I'm saying is, wrap Trinity Rodman in bubble wrap, please.
Yes, exactly. Jarrett, did you know? For opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase, and they in turn take 10% reinvested into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Jarrett, did you know that Lionel Messi landed yesterday?
That's what I heard. Yeah, apparently Messi is going to play in the MLS.
I'm shocked and stunned, but
yeah, I am just flabbergasted.
Yep. He had the entourage, he had the family with him and everything. And so Argentine media, to their credit, had every landing strip stalked out, awaiting the landing of the Lionel Messi plane. And I give them full credit. I mean, this is just like them on a normal news day. It's like, all right, Messi's landing somewhere in South Florida. So they had cameras from one place to the other, and they did get the money shot of the disembarking of the family heading into various cars and things. So apparently we're getting that much closer to official. I mean the unveil is coming soon, and networks are falling over themselves trying to figure out how to broadcast the thing. And there's going to be allegedly musical guests, and they're trying to get Shakira and Bad Bunny and a bunch of other things like that. But the opening kickoff for me, have you collective folks, have you seen the new stands that have been put up by Inter Miami?
Yes, I know. I've seen them, and I've seen them before, John, because I too watched the cinematic classic Apollo 13. And the scene where they actually launch the rocket, it looks like the same damn stands, man. Also, low-key, one of the best film scores, one of the best film.
Robots got to Jarrett when he was starting to slam the stands in Fort Lauderdale. But there you go. Right.
Big soccer's coming for me.
Yes.
I can't say mean things. I've seen those stands before because I watched them in Apollo 13. That's it. Same damn stands.
Well, honestly, in addition to Apollo 13, then they probably just got them moved from Canaveral. It's just like, yo, can we borrow those? That's what's in the corner. One corner got set up. The other corner, I think, was in the process of being erector setted and laid out there for the fans that are going to be paying anywhere from $125 to $200 to be in those temporary seats.
Not even for a game,
no,
right?
No,
this is just the unveiling, right?
I think so. But I mean, it's like, yeah, welcome aboard. I mean, seriously. I'm going to go to Michelle Kaufman really quickly just to double check those ticket prices. But
that might have been the first
the Leagues Cup one.
That might have been the first Leagues Cup game, which is still lower than I expected, and the secondary market will jump like a frog in a hot pot.
Yep. Tickets in the southeast northeast corner bleachers, $200 for Inter Miami Cruz Azul for the debut, 145 for Inter Miami versus Atlanta, July 25. Michelle Kaufman 15 hours ago saying check Ticketmaster.
And to your point, to Michael Head's point, about it being like an erector set of a stadium. I mean, there's still talks about building a bigger, more permanent facility. Yeah. I believe there's still ongoing talks, but dude, that won't be done by the time Messi's done playing.
You got to go to Hard Rock.
They've got to go to Hard Rock. It's so stupid. Not like it's cool that you have DRV Peak Stadium. Like it's an intimate venue, but you don't do an intimate venue with this kind of move. If it was the Galaxy, we'd be telling them to play it at the Rose Bowl,
and they would.
If it was Red Bulls, they would never do something like
they'd be telling. We'd ask them to play at Red Bull
or go to the Meadowlands. We tell them to go to the Meadowlands. And just take it to Hard Rock.
Yeah. But I mean, those of us here in the Southeast footprint are used to seeing stands like that for rivalry football games on Friday nights, and they'd get filled. Yep. We've seen that before. That ain't nothing. And
let me tell you, please send Messi to a Lowndes Valdosta game.
The Wintersville Classic, Messi. Go to the Concrete Palace. You want loud, you want 13,000 people, you go to Martin Stadium, sir.
You want 13,000 people, all of them with strong opinions about what's happening every single moment. What, like, how many at least 2 local radio broadcasts?
Yep.
TV stations coming down from Atlanta. Please send him to do a game. Please, like, we're gonna send Messi to, like, hey man, things are coming. We're gonna give you a tour of every weird ass game we can find in the immediate vicinity.
Yes. Yeah. So, congratulations. Congratulations to you, Inter Miami.
Michael, he's experienced plenty of loud stadia. I just want to make it weird for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, yeah, God knows he's experienced much worse than like a South Georgia football game. It's just weird. It's its own unique kind of weird is all. But that's also, to John's point, like that's where those stands would usually be. It's just put the damn thing at Hard Rock and call it a day.
Yeah. Ricky gets the +1 for the morning. In Atlanta, Inter Miami preseason game in Valdosta would be hilarious. Let me see. I don't think they could have it at Martin because I think the sidelines are too small. I think it would have to be, by process of elimination, it would have to be at Bazemore-Hyder. I don't know if they're wide enough, but at least it's wider than Martin Stadium.
Just play it in a field in Tifton.
Well, I mean, I think Brody might actually work. It might be wide enough. And considering what Tift has been doing with their high school program recently, it might be wide enough. So, I mean, well, you couldn't play it in Moultrie because the hog pen is too small. You couldn't play it. I don't think you could play it at Martin. You might be able to play it at Bazemore-Hyder. You might be able to play it at Brody in Tifton. Wow. I mean, if you could just make the Bronx Yankee Stadium allowance for field width and say that it's regulation, and I just used air quotes, then you might be able to do something like that. But there is an airport, Coco, but there's also Moody Air Force Base, which would probably be where Messi would have to fly into anyway, just for security.
Airport's a fluid term in the same sense of when John Kramer and I used to go do Auburn games. He occasionally would fly into Auburn. Like, there's an airport in Opelika too, but
yes,
I mean,
yes,
it's more of a strip.
Mike Hubbard International Airport there in Auburn, Opelika.
I mean, we got to get Jimmy Rain in and out of there somehow, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, in Ricky, Alex, it's Espanyol's old place because demolition work at Camp Nou. They're adding allegedly and subtracting and things like that. So I mean, Messi's played at Elche. Messi has played in small places, but just the vibe and the energy that could be attached to something like that would be odd on multiple levels. But yeah, so the temporary erector set seats have been put in, and they are charging the arm and the proverbial leg for folks if you want to go see the first two matches, the Leagues Cup and the match against Atlanta United. So anything is possible, and I'm sure it will be filled, and the TV production will be probably done in a very creative way, so it's not looking like said erector set, but we will definitely see. So, but yeah, that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Hey, did you know that Lionel Messi landed? Morning, Sharif. We'll get into Atlanta United and New England coming up in just a little bit, because we got a lot of action tonight. We got juice boxes to talk about and all of the other activity that is there. As a part of it, there's your QR code, once again, for those watching on Twitch. And once again, use the code Soccer Down Here 15 to get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. Opening kickoff is done, which means we now get to talk about the matches tonight. And there's the proverbial ish load of them.
Yes.
And there's only 2 of them at 7:30, which is weird.
Well, I mean, are they the only 2 East Coast games?
Yeah. I mean, the
schedule got weird.
You've got 10 matches tonight, including the match that you started watching and then had to leave.
Yeah, I'm still mad about it personally because I went full sicko and was punished for it by the gods. I still have they gave me a yellow card when I walked in, and I still have it. Oh. I have a second one. The first one I left at my seat when the bottom of the sky opened up and God smote, I suppose, Colorado in general. Mostly because Kroenke put that stadium out the middle of somewhere between no and where.
Yes.
So I had to get a second yellow card.
Yes. That is out there. So the second half of the abandoned match that Jarrett, he himself, and thousands of others abandoned, thanks to Mother Nature, that is going to be a part of things as well. Nothing had been resolved in the first 45 minutes, so
should have been.
Yeah,
should have been. Lawless Abubakar put the ball in the back of the net and was called back for a foul, and no one saw the foul.
Yeah.
It was very weird. It was one of those where the ref there had been hand fighting on corners, and the ref blew the whistle, and the second that corner was hit, and they showed the replay, nothing that was clear there that we saw in the stadium, and Abubakar smashed it home, but no dice.
Of course, because we wouldn't have it any other way. All right, so let's get into our matchups tonight. And on season pass at 7:30, so it's a 7:39 kick. FC Cincinnati at Red Bulls, and in front of friends and family, a 6, 7, and 8 host 13, 2, and 6. Red Bulls are a -105. Your draw's a +248, and FC Cincinnati is a +288. Obviously, with the absences of key folks for FC Cincinnati, that is part and parcel as to why the numbers are as they are, because somebody named Brandon Vasquez is kind of busy at the moment when it comes to performing for Cincinnati. Dado Valenzuela's out. Dominic Baji's out. Miazga Vasquez, international duty. Yuya Kubo is questionable with a hamstring, although a lot of us, I'm sure, have very questionable hamstrings anyway. Red Bulls tonight, they've got Sergeant Goma out with a hamstring, Lewis Morgan out with a hip, Steven Serwada out with a knee, Corey Burke and John Tolkien out for international duty, Drew Yearwood and Elias Manuel are questionable tonight. So that's what we are staring at with that particular matchup. Let's go ahead and do fun facts, because just that -105 for the home team considering that they're not all that great. Yeah?
I got the Diego Maradona sounds going with this game, personally, but let's go for it.
All right.
Feels very draw-y.
Yes. Red Bulls won each of their first 4 against FC Cincinnati, and all comps managed to win just 1 in the last 8, including being eliminated in last season's playoffs on penalties and Open Cup. Red Bulls have scored multiple goals in 3 of their last 4 league games. Who knew? Including a 2-1 result over New England on Saturday, for a total of 9 goals over the 4 games. In their previous 17 games, the Red Bulls had scored multiple goals in just 2, tallying 11 total goals in that time. As we're going over all the other matchups, put all your thoughts for Atlanta and New England in the Twitch pitch, and we'll go over them after we go through all the other matches. FC Cincinnati has conceded multiple goals in each of its last 3 for the team's first winless streak, longer than a single game this season. But they've drawn 2 of them. Last time Cincinnati allowed multiple goals over at least 3 consecutive games was a run of 6 straight to end 21 and to begin 22. Wiki Carmona scored his first goal of the season after coming off the bench. The Red Bulls' 8th goal from substitutes this year. Tied for second most goals from subs in MLS this season with Orlando City, the purple team, trailing only Atlanta United's 9 such goals. Keep that in mind. Lucho Acosta had a goal and an assist on Saturday, 5th game this season with multiple goal contributions, behind only Hani Mukhtar's 6. I know that Jared is trying to wish Hani Mukhtar's transfer into happening overseas.
Look, if the rest of the Eastern Conference isn't wishing it into existence with me, I don't really know what they're doing with their time. It shouldn't just be – I should not be holding up this pedestal of hope and dreams by myself. If I am, you're a bunch of lazy asses. Because Nashville is a legitimate threat with Hani Mukhtar on the field.
Yes.
Without Hani Mukhtar on the field, they're mortal.
Yes.
But I don't think he'll go. I think Nashville, unless Hani Mukhtar goes to them and says, "Hey, I want that money. Gimme. You sell me right now." Unless that happens, and then they actually do sell him and don't wait till the offseason or something. Unless that happens, I don't see them selling him. But we can still try and wish it into existence, because while they would get an obscene amount of money, the concept of replacing Hani Mukhtar, who is just the perfect key for that lock that is Nashville.
That is Gary Smith's franchise up there in Nashville.
He's perfect for it, so they would be crazy to let him go.
Yes. Lucho Acosta's 63 goal contributions since joining Cincinnati. Hani Mukhtar has 83. He's the only one who has more than that. I'm still looking. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of drawish on this one as well. So your draw option is there at a plus 248. 4 at 8:30. Chicago Fire and CF Montreal. The Fire at home are a minus 132. Fire at home, minus 132. Draws a plus 248, and CF Montreal 43.
The Fire just won a game against Nashville.
Okay.
With no Hani Mukhtar, mind you, but that minus number at home is from
6, 7, and 8, hosting 8, 11, and 2 at 8:39. It's on Apple TV and MLS Season Pass. Fun fact: CF Montreal's won each of its last 4 against the Fire, winning home and away in both 21 and 22. The wins in Chicago each of the last 2 years came after Montreal had won just 1 of 9 against the Fire previously, losing 5. Chicago's won 3 of their last 4 in MLS. Yeah, go ahead.
Alex, we can do both. We can get better and wish Hani away, because I guarantee you there's some teams looking at Thiago Almada wishing him away.
That's true.
We can do both. Yep. I'm all for getting better.
Why not?
I am all for both getting better and kneecapping my rivals.
Why not both? They absolutely should.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yes. And so I've got to add that drop to the stacks, because I don't have that one yet. Chicago's won 3 of their last 4 after winning just 3 of their first 17. All 6 Fire wins have been by 1-goal margins, as they're the only team without a win by multiple goals this year. CF Montreal has won only 1 of its 11 MLS away matches this season, losing 8. And that's probably why Jarrett was being a little skittish. did manage the scoreless draw at Charlotte on my birthday in their last road match. Montreal's 5 away points this season are better than only Miami and Toronto after earning a league best 35 on the road last year. I don't think we need to go any further.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning Chicago here because you're getting a minus number at home with Chicago. And here's the thing, man. I didn't agree with firing Ezra Hendrickson.
Yeah,
I was pretty clear about that. They have gritted this out and ground this out in a really impressive way, more so than I thought they would. I'm incredibly impressed by what they've done. That I didn't think that was the right move, but me with the egg on my face right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Chicago still has problems. Like you're still having to put quarts of oil in this thing every couple miles. It's not ready yet. The O-ring should probably be replaced, but it's not as bad, man. They are gritting. They are grinding this out. I'm really impressed by the fight.
CF Montreal out. Kyoto, Chouanier, Lapalainen, Broguillard, and Herrera are out on international duty. For the Chicago Fire, out Mueller, Casas, Navarro, Omsberg, and Victor Becerra. And it is very, very Chicago Blackhawksian when it comes to the injury designations. It is either right upper leg, right lower leg, or left lower leg, or right lower leg. So that's what you're staring at. You're looking at upper leg injuries for 5 players, nothing specific past that. So there we go. Yeah, so that's what we're staring at with Chicago and Montreal. Houston and Minnesota. Apparently what happened last time Minnesota played, when Teemu Pukki touched the ball, and you can catch this one on Season Pass as well, 8-9-4 hosting 6-8-6. The crowd cheered. Didn't do much with it, but the crowd cheered when Teemu Pukki touched the ball in Minnesota at Allianz Field. So with this one, juice boxes, it is Houston Dynamo at home at a minus 119, Minnesota United at a plus 281 on the draw, and plus 300 to win for the Loons. I really don't think we need to go any further. I'm looking at Houston in this one, and while Minnesota is still trying to get everything squared away and figured out with this one on Season Pass, I've got to go. I got to go Houston here. We can go fun facts if you want. Where do you want to go? I think I've stunned Jarrett into silence. Minnesota United's won their last 6 against Houston, including a 1-0 home win May 17. Houston salvaged a 2-2 draw with Sporting at 97:43 on the clock. Since the beginning of last season, Dynamo twice scored game-tying goals 98th minute or later. Minnesota allowed 4 goals for the 3rd time in their last 8 games in all comps with the loss to Austin. When Houston and Minnesota last met, Corey Baird had a hat trick to send the Dynamo into the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup. Minnesota's lone goal in their loss to Austin was scored by Devin Paddleford, who was making his 4th MLS appearance, 20 years, 186 days. Youngest Minnesota United player to score in league play, eclipsing Mason Toye, who was 70 days older. I got to go with I got to go with Houston.
Yeah, Minnesota might figure stuff out eventually. I'm hesitant.
Yes, out for Houston. Achara, Hadibi, Tate Schmidt, Karaskia is out on international duty. Andrew Tarbell is in concussion protocol for Minnesota. Out. Ryan Jiba, Robin Lod, Kamar Lawrence, international duty. And questionable with thigh injuries, Fragapane, Sangbin Jean, and Emmanuel Iwe. So that's where we're staring at with this one. All right. Next on the board at 8:30, if I can figure out where I am here. Nashville and Philadelphia Union. Here we go. Nashville at home is on the plus side at a plus 104. Your draw's a plus 237. Philadelphia is a plus 267. Availability report courtesy of our friend Ben Wright. Jack Marr is questionable for Nashville. Nick DePuy is out for the season. Anibal Godoy is on international duty. For Philadelphia, Kai Wagner is questionable. International duty, Andre Blake and Damian Lowe. So, what say
Nashville?
Yeah, I got to go
Don't
with
think about it. Have you watched Philadelphia with Joe Bendick and the Sticks?
Oh, yes. And I'm sure that Rich Ransom has as well, and Rich is probably pulling out what's left of his hair.
So Nashville.
Yes.
Because Joe Bendick has been a net negative, man.
Yes, he has. And you mean that both literally and figuratively. He's been net negative. And Jim Curtin was asked about Joe Bendick. Is Joe Bendick still going to be the starter? He went, yep. Doesn't sound like there's a whole lot behind Joe Bendick, but it could get out of control when it comes to what's going on with Philly. And after this one, Philly's got NYC on the weekend. So keep an eye on that. Once again, remember, fix your fantasy teams. Fix your fantasy teams. We'll see if Jason Wright and the Jason Wright Agency in 10:30 and beyond have made their choices with Ryan Wojo so far. Also at 8:30, Sporting Kansas City and RSL. RSL on the road, by the way, is a plus 219. Your draw's a plus 265. Sporting's a plus 112. Have you seen Chicho Arango since he showed up with RSL?
Yeah, he contributed to the demolition of the of Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Here's also the thing, though. Sporting is pissed right now. And, like, playing an angry Sporting feels like a risky kind of thing. I really like what RSL is becoming, but give me Sporting at home because they're still very pissed off that they did not get to play the end of that game up a man.
Yeah.
After they had a player, they had, like, a player literally shoved to the ground before kickoff.
Yes. And Yep.
I mean, just another banner week for Pro across the board. Clap, 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 clap.
Yes, there. We'll get into reffing down here with Bart at 10:30. Joining us from Providence, Rhode Island, by the way, is Jason. Good morning, sir.
What's up? Everything sound okay?
Yeah, you sound like you are in a hotel room in Providence, Rhode Island.
That would be accurate, yes.
So how was the trip up?
It was a flight. It's always good when you have a landing that when the flight attendant comes on the microphone afterwards is kind of laughing about how maybe sudden it was. That's always good. But anyway.
Oh, man. But you are up there because last time we checked, Atlanta United has a midweek match, and they are playing the New England Revolution.
Yes, that is accurate.
Looking back, let's look back before we go forward. Takeaways once again from the Department of Defense, otherwise known as Atlanta United, getting another big win.
You're not giving up a whole lot of good chances right now. And I think the overall shot total can be extremely misleading, and Montreal was a prime example of it. I felt like they settled for a lot of long-range shots, and one shot on goal for Philly as well. So, that's never happened before because it doesn't happen very often where you're doing that well defensively. And look, it starts all over the field, and I think that's a big part of this, and that's nothing new. And that's where you get back to, how the team's playing now versus how they've played before. And, all these dramatic changes and it's tweaks in maybe a little bit of the positioning, and more importantly, the positioning when you are under some pressure. You have that extra center back that is helping out. But when you build up the play, Ronald Hernandez can get forward. And honestly, we've seen Luis Abram get forward a good bit from the left side too, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. So you're just changing where you can be aggressive at times. And I think that's the key here, is that they're very good defensively right now, but they're not doing it in a passive way. You're not just putting numbers behind the ball, sitting back, clogging lanes up. You're doing some of that in the right spots, but you're also aggressive high up the field. You're making it difficult for teams to build up the play. You're aggressive in the middle third. It's difficult to play through. And I thought in Montreal, that was evident with Sosa and with Sejdic in the midfield in front of those three center backs. And then in the second half, you saw players drop even further into that midfield. Jay Fortune, when he came on, Wolf dropped deeper because that's where the issue was. And Gonzalo Pineda talked about it a little bit on Monday at media, Rudy Camacho was finding spaces when he was passing forward. He was finding the lane to beat the higher press. So they made a little tweak, dropped a little bit deeper in the midfield. It turned a little bit more from a 5-2-2-1 to a 5-3-1-1. Doesn't sound like much, but it clogged some of the lanes. And then Montreal has to go out wide, and they can't play through that space. And then when Atlanta breaks, they can break, and they can build up the play too and keep it. So you're just making little tweaks to your approach, and it's working right now. Now it's going to be tested against New England because you're dealing with one of the best maybe lock pickers in terms of a defense, in terms of Carlos Gil, that you're going to find. He's one of the best playmakers in this league, and he's got a lot of options around him. And he's fresh because he didn't play on the weekend due to yellow card accumulation. So lots of things to deal with when you go into this one, but they're coming in a really good bit of form right now on the defensive side of the ball.
Jarrett, go for it.
You talk about if it's going to be that box midfield look again with I'd be really tempted to go again with Sejdic and Sosa, especially with their ability to hold on to the ball and distribute, because aside from don't let him have the ball, which seems like plan A1 for dealing with Carlos Gil, I mean, how else would you deal with him other than just try and like force him to drop back and pick up the ball in less dangerous areas?
You want to do a little bit of all of the above because, I mean, players like that, you're not going to stop completely. It's just impossible. But you want to limit when they can be dangerous, and you want to limit where they have space and time. And yeah, you do want him to drop back and get on the ball deeper, because if he's doing that, he's a little frustrated because he's not getting the ball in more dangerous spots in the attack. You want to do a little bit of, I think, some different things against him, because if you do the same thing over and over again, he's going to figure it out. If you go with more of the box midfield with, the starters from the Montreal game, you're talking Sosa and Sejdic behind Almada and Wolf. If you do something like that, you want to literally box him in. You want to, if he receives it there, not have any clean looks to get out of that. You do want to deny him the ball at times. You're not going to man mark him, but you want to be aware of where he is. And that's where having Sosa, having Sejdic, and potentially if you drop a little bit deeper at times, having Wolf be the third, so it turns from a box into more of a little bit of a diamond. When you do that, you have the ability, when a pass is coming into him, to take a little bit of a gamble and try to jump that lane. If you don't get it, you have cover. And that's the balancing act here defensively. I don't think Atlanta's ever going to be a defensive team that just puts numbers behind the ball and sits and waits and lets opponents do what they do. You're going to see a team that wants to find ways to be aggressive. That's the mentality. That's the approach. That's the personality of this group. So if you do that, whether it's the box, whether it's the diamond, how it turns, because it's different, but it's not that different. You have the ability to be a little aggressive when that ball comes into Gil. You can try to jump in front. And Amar Sejdic is really good at reading those things. He's been outstanding defensively. And I think, one of the big stories this season has been the consistently strong play on and off the ball from Amar Sejdic. It's been a huge, huge part of this midfield all year long.
When it comes to this match being the meat in the sandwich, that second one in short order, getting ready for Orlando on the weekend, how different do you anticipate the starting lineup being, knowing that Orlando game is coming up this weekend?
It's tough. You don't really have a book here to follow because Orlando's not playing tonight. Thank you, MLS schedule makers. That's really a good setup there. Really good setup for making things all fair when teams are going to play, especially a rivalry game where you're at home and you've got to go to Foxborough on the Wednesday and then come back and play a team that doesn't play in the midweek. Good job, guys. You can go one of these ways. You just decide to say, all right, well, we're on the road. We'd rather win the home game, so let's heavily rotate. Or we're going to be tired either way. Let's go with what's working. And I don't know which route you're going to take here. Either way, knowing how things can go, you're going to have the questions afterwards. I mean, there's not a route here. You're going to be in a tricky, because let's say you rotate. Let's say your mindset is let's rotate and have our best guys fresh for Orlando on the weekend, so we have a better chance to win at home. Okay, but then they lose a little bit of that rhythm. You lose that momentum that you have going right now. So then the flip side, you go and you keep rolling with what's working. Maybe you change one or two depending on fatigue, whatever. And then they're tired on Saturday. So, I mean, there's no way here to handle this perfectly. You don't have it. You have to figure out what's best to get the most points in these two games. And it doesn't matter where they come. It doesn't matter if you get 3 tonight and 1 on Saturday, or it's reversed, or 3-0. You got to get the most you can in these two games. And that's where it's down to, I think, Gonzalo, and I think it's also down to the sports science department to be able to tell you how much that people can go without risk and injury. You do have a little bit of a break after the Orlando game. You've built up fitness all year long to get to these kinds of moments. Maybe guys can get you, maybe not 180 at 100%. Maybe they can get you 150. Maybe they can get you 120. And that might be enough to get through these two games. But, your guess is as good as mine on what it looks like, just because it's an awful setup from the league. I really don't like it. And it's something that we've talked about over the years when it comes to scheduling. Scheduling's hard. I've done it on a very small scale with the NPSL Southeast. I did the schedules in, I think, 2011, 12, and I was involved in it in 14 and 15, if I remember right. I did it in 11 and 12. I did the schedule. And when you're dealing with I think we were at 6 teams then, maybe we got to 8 in the second year. It's hard enough, but it's an easy format at least. You know what everybody's doing. You're playing basically the same schedule for everybody. You just have to deal with everybody's availability of venues. Here, you're dealing with a whole lot more teams. I get it. I understand how hard it is. But this type of stuff consistently happens. It's not just to Atlanta. It's to every team around the league. You shouldn't have this happen. You just shouldn't have this happen. And it creates a really difficult spot for the team, but you got to deal with it. You got to get as many points as you can in these two games. And hopefully that starts tonight.
And look, we talked about, Atlanta's going to do their thing. They're going to be who they are. How susceptible do you think a team like New England can be to getting frustrated if Atlanta's able to play their game and to hold on to the ball? And part of that is, if it's Sosa, especially if it's Sosa, which will be Sosa, but especially if it's Sadich, who can be very good on the ball. But I guess one way to mitigate what New England can do is to try and hang on to the ball and not give it up in bad dangerous areas. But how susceptible are they to getting frustrated if you can just hang on to the ball and kind of try and shorten the game a bit while also being dangerous?
Yeah, I don't think they'll keep the ball just for keeping the ball's sake, but having possession can frustrate teams. New England's not maybe as possession based as they have been in the past. They can play on the counter a little bit more. Their setup's interesting because and we've had this conversation about New England before too. Like, I thought New England was at their best in 2019 when they played in a 4-2-3-1 with Heel as a winger coming inside, because it really created some difficult matchup questions and some difficult structural questions, because he could play wide, but he came inside, and that's where he was dangerous, creating overloads. When they went to more of the 4-4-2 diamond kind of, I think it limits some things. And this year, it's kind of a lopsided setup where a lot of times, not always, and they're missing some people too. They've got some injuries they're dealing with, and DeJuan Jones away. At times, it looks a little bit like 3 center backs and a pseudo wing back on the left side, Emmanuel Boateng, with the left back in the 4-4-2 staying home a lot, and your right back, Brandon Bye, playing as a wing back or a winger. So they're set up to where they can play a little more on the counter. And I think they've done that more this year. Their average possession's under 50%. So I don't think they get too frustrated without the ball. But I also think the flip side is that they lost a game that they're very upset about over the weekend. And they're going to be frustrated walking in the door. They're going to be, I think, hyped up because of how the last time these teams played, how it started and ended. They're going to see opportunity here at home. They should. You know, they haven't lost at home. They're one of only 2 teams in MLS who hasn't lost a home game this season. So I think they're going to be loaded for bear to be on the front foot. Now, if Atlanta can keep the ball, and again, not just keep it to keep it, I don't think that's the way that Atlanta would play it. I don't think that's the way that they want to do. But keep it and create opportunities. Keep it in the attacking half. Keep it in the attacking third. There could be some spots where New England gets a little bit antsy. And I think the first 15 minutes is a really big part of this. I'd love to see Atlanta on the front foot in the first 15 and really go for it there. New England's been a little susceptible to start games. They build as the game goes on. Atlanta's actually been one of the better teams in scoring goals early. I know New England scored early last time out. Hopefully no mistakes in possession in the back. So I'd love to see Atlanta go for it early. And then if it doesn't come, be smart defensively. You might have to do that a little bit just because of the possession. Because of the game on Saturday, which actually took a lot out of those guys. It was hot and just muggy and sticky in Montreal. It took a lot out of them. It was a physical game. And you're going to have to deal with that with guys who played in that one and play again tonight. So I think both teams are going to have to pick their spots maybe a little bit more than they'd like because of the midweek after hectic games. I mean, you play the Red Bulls, you know how that's going to affect you as well. So I think both teams are going to have to pick their spots a little bit. I'd like to see Atlanta try to land the first punch and really go for it early, because if they can either get that first goal or just really put a scare into New England, I want to see how New England looks if they get a little rattled. I don't think they're good enough defensively to handle that. Goalkeeper's great. Goalkeeper's outstanding, but we talked about it coming into that New England game last time. Andrew Farrell was in a really bad run of form there. He had a great game against Atlanta United in that one. You can get at him a little bit, I think. I think you can get guys in behind him. You can get guys running at him and beat him on the dribble. That could be a huge opportunity. Farrell and Romney, solid center backs. I think Romney is one of the more underrated guys in the league, but they're not the most athletic. And I think you can get them in 1v1s. And that's what Atlanta should be looking for, especially early in the first half. And again, I'd love to see it early in the second half too. I think New England's a team that gets better in the 45s. Try to hit them early before they get settled.
Yeah, no Latif Blessing because of the red card in the previous match as well. The player availability report, no Nacho Heel out, Kessler out, Maciel out, Tommy Mack out. You mentioned DeJuan Jones for international duty. The last time that they played in the midweek, their starting lineup was as follows. Bobby Wood and Gustavo Bo up top. Boateng, Polster, Blessing, obviously not a part of the discussion tonight.
Carlos Heel in for Blessing.
Right. And so Bayraktarovic, who, Jason, you got the chance to see with Revolution 2, he was getting some starts in the midfield last time. Sweat, Romney, Farrell, and I'm glad you mentioned Petrovic because that was going to be my next question, was going up against probably one of the I don't want to use the word necessarily underrated, but because he plays in New England, a lot of folks don't know about Petrovic and what he's been able to accomplish. One of the more solid keepers and it's been a great pickup for New England.
Yeah, folks should know about him, and they should know about New England because this is the third team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, I know at times our national coverage of the league gets a little slanted on a few teams, and New England's one that shouldn't be left out of that conversation. You have the best playmaker in Heel, if not in the league since he joined it. He's top 2 or 3 since 2019, and you have one of the best shot stoppers in Petrovic. So I think you have to not really worry about his stature because, look, you scored 3 on him last time. You know, he's very good, but he's human. For me, it's that defense. I mean, Ben Sweat hasn't been here very long with New England. I think that was his first start, if I'm not mistaken, maybe his second. Okay, he's bounced around a little bit here lately around the league for a reason. I mentioned Farrell in the back. Brandon Bye is going to get forward. He can be dangerous, as we saw over the weekend. But that's going to open up some spaces to attack in. We've talked about it, I think, a lot here locally with the three center backs and how everything's so much better defensively and the effects defensively. I asked Gonzalo on Monday about what it does for the team in the attack, because I think it's had a huge impact on the attacking side as well. Brooks Lennon's got a goal in each game since playing as a wing back as opposed to a right back. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but it frees him up a little bit. Same with Caleb Wiley, who I think needs to get going in these moments and get into the attacking third and contribute. Both of them can be really key here, and it's Wiley on that left side and Brandon Bye as the right back / right wing back. You want to make Bye defend. You want to get in behind. You take Bye out of their attack. It limits them. It takes a weapon away. And you put him defending where he's a stronger attacker than defender. So Wiley becomes really key here. For me, it's not about their goalkeeper being so good. It's about the players in front. You can get chances against New England. You can get opportunities against this team. As we saw last time, you've got to limit their opportunities better. And you've got to do a better job defensively, which this team has lately, while still getting forward, maybe in a little bit different way than you did that game. Game state will not factor in the same way, hopefully. Hopefully you don't concede a first-minute goal and you're chasing it, and then you have to come all the way back, and then you don't get resettled once you get to 3-2. Hopefully you can be in more control of this one. And that's the key for me, is controlling the game, working the ball to the outsides, finding Almada in space, and being a team that's difficult to break down, just making Carlos Heel have to play sideways and backwards more. Don't let him turn and get his head up and find runners.
Broadcast plans, sir, for you and Mike.
7 o'clock, Five Stripes Countdown. 7:39 is your kickoff. We'll have a little bit of a full-time report after the final whistle. So we got a plane to catch to get back to Atlanta. Very, very late / early, depending on what day you want to talk about. It's going to be a long day for us, but we'll be on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Looking forward to it, and we will catch up with you. Do we get you Friday as well to talk about the purple team?
Friday, possibly. Media and training is on Friday, so possibly, but it's a little bit harder when those things line up. I will try.
No doubt about it, but it's always great to have you to give the Atlanta United perspective leading into these matches. Have a fantastic call tonight and continue enjoying the Italian food in Providence, Rhode Island, sir. I
don't need any more Italian food after what I ate last night. I am so full still from last night. I'm good.
All right. Be good, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Adios.
All right. That's Jason. So Jason got to hang out with us from Providence, Rhode Island, and I imagine he has like massive amounts of leftovers, just big, containers of stuff. Do not know if Gigi made the trip, but once again, you're looking at things from they said week by week when it comes to his hamstring. So I think what you're also looking at is making sure that you don't want to overuse. You want him to be as close to 100% as humanly possible, and so you're trying to see what's going on. So Yorgos Giacomakis did not make the trip to Montreal. Trained by himself on Monday. According to Doug, if he's available, he'll come off the bench just to kind of get him all squared away. And so since it is top of the hour, it's Dylan Butler hanging out with us. So literally, you just missed the hot tag with Jason. Jason is in a hotel room in Providence, Rhode Island, and he broke down Atlanta and New England for us. My first question:
not staying out a Patriot place, the greatest place in the world.
Well, and go and eat at something at what's left of Toby Keith's restaurant.
Although Providence. Great Italian food in Providence. So
and they were completely and totally all over the Italian food. Apparently,
yes. I can't. It is on a match day. It is great to be able to just kind of wake up and see the stadium, and you're right there, and you don't have to travel. For some reason, the Patriot Place Dunkin' is really good.
Okay.
But outside of that, maybe going back to the room, a nap before, right? Maybe a quick walk over to the stadium. Nice benefits of Patriot Place, but I'm not sure. I think the Italian food in Providence maybe trumps that. So
Yeah, well, I mean, and yeah, so Jason, I said, continue to enjoy the Italian food there in Providence. He's like, I don't need to enjoy any more Italian food. I just have this vision of him with like the take-home box that's probably about a foot long and a foot wide.
yeah.
So he's got that for lunch, and he's got that for insert 11 billion meals going on in the future. When you no, silly me, what's the mug? Hello.
Yeah, we're going dad today.
Okay. And how is camp?
Camp is good. They have different days. Today, actually, ironically, that we're speaking is soccer day. So, she's getting her different initial soccer skills in. So,
okay.
we
So
have sprinkler day. We have ice cream truck day. You could assume which is the favorite. So,
well, and so when it comes to soccer, does she gravitate toward a team in particular? Does she gravitate toward an individual in particular, or does she just want to score goals and celebrate?
Good questions all around. No team in particular. I did get her watching some of the World Cup in Qatar, and ironically, she became a Messi fan. I think she just liked the name. So then we watched some Champions League, and she would see Messi there. Who knew at the time Messi would be coming to our shores?
Hey, did you know that Lionel Messi landed in Miami yesterday, in suburban Miami? Did you know?
Yeah, I didn't.
Did you know?
It was a well kept secret. That is for sure.
He landed. Dylan, Lionel Messi landed in Fort Lauderdale. He landed.
But what did he have for breakfast today?
Let's see, that's the question. But you know what? The Argentine media is all over this. That they are just, I mean, they were at every landing strip known to mankind, as they should have been, and I give them full credit for it. I mean, if you go on something like Teisei, you look on Teisei, and they were all over it on their afternoon drive programming, brother. I mean, that's Lionel Messi landed. It literally, it's like the new phone books are here. The new phone books are here. Did you see, sir, the temporary seats? And this was our opening kickoff this morning, by the way. Did you see the temporary seats that have been brought in at DRVP and K because Lionel Messi has in fact landed?
I have not. I missed that.
There are pictures. I think Luis Michel Echegaray has them up. Various folks have them up, and our thoughts were that they were brought down. That Jared thought that they actually looked like the bleachers / amphitheater that was there for Apollo 13.
Okay.
And they had one of the temporary sections put up yesterday, and it looks fresh out of a Rector set. And we've been screaming about them having. You got to go to Hard Rock, man. You can't just finish your season at DRVP and K, can you? Can you?
I mean, probably not. But I guess it's sort of. I guess it also. I don't know. I mean, it's great. It's another good question because, like, what is the rest of this season for Miami? Like, what is the rest of this season, right?
Okay. All right. We'll workshop this. All right, please hold. Efforting. But no, I mean, it's you're like, oh man, come on.
I mean, if you think you have a distinct home advantage there, I suppose that you just deal with it. You play there. If you're kind of at the point of, without publicly saying it, punting on the season, right? And like just having these guys come in and get acclimated and really make a push for next year, then yeah, I would say why not, right? Like maximize the Messi effect in your bank account.
So then the question, I guess, is, do you maximize, well, and if it goes on the secondary market, I mean, the only tickets that you really can control are the ones that are being added in the erector set. You can't control the secondary market for everybody who's jacking up their ticket prices for Lionel Messi, this individual who I've heard is good at the soccering, for the remainder of the run. I mean, you've got, all right. So here's how it's looking. The ticket prices in the erector set for Leagues Cup, I think, were at 200. That was the initial. When the erector set was put up, they said, okay, Leagues Cup against Cruz Azul, which is the anticipated debut where he probably walks out and does a cameo with about 10 to go.
Scores 2 goals.
Yeah, scores 2 goals in 10 minutes against Cruz Azul. On the 21st, that's a home match. Then Leagues Cup against Atlanta United on the 25th. He probably starts that one. August, home match against Charlotte on the 20th. Obviously, we don't know what the rest of Leagues Cup is going to be outside of group stage. So group stage, knockouts in Leagues Cup, that we don't know. So that's to be determined between July 25th and August 20th. August 20th, it is Charlotte at Miami. Then you've got road games against Cincinnati and Red Bulls. Maybe Red Bull Arena will be full for that one, perhaps.
Yeah, I would say so.
Nashville visits Miami on August 30th. That is the third match in a week for Inter Miami. So which matches does Messi play? September, you're at LAFC. You host Sporting Kansas City on September 9th. You host Atlanta September 16th. Then, you come to Atlanta September 16th. 4 days later, you go back home to take on Toronto. Then you go to Orlando, come back to finish September against NYC. Go to Chicago, come back 3 days later to play Cincinnati. You get a week off, and then decision day, you're in Charlotte. So home matches are Leagues Cup. It is Charlotte. It is.
Don't forget too. Sorry, John. Don't forget too. And this may ironically, maybe that's not the right word, but interestingly, it might be the biggest game of the season for Miami. Yeah. Is their Open Cup semifinal as well, which is August 23rd. I mean, obviously, CONCACAF, Miami, you want Inter Miami in the Champions League, right? So right now they are 2 games away from doing that. So,
you can get that game at TQL pushed later down on the schedule.
I don't think he's cup tied, right? I think he's good. I don't think. I think UEFA Champions League constitutes being cup tied. So.
Well, they'd probably try to figure out a way to do it. But yeah, your home matches are the 2 in Leagues Cup and group stage that we know. Charlotte, Nashville in August. September, it is Sporting Kansas City, Toronto, NYC, and in October, it's the one against FC Cincinnati next to last week of the regular season. I don't know if those are going to be ones where you'd fill out a building, but I would think that you would at least want the idea of having that option, you know?
No, I agree. And if you look, right, I'll do a little quick research as well at the current standings as I pull them up.
There you go.
Their home form, Miami, they are 4-5-2.
Okay.
1-8-1 on the road. So obviously not ideal in either case. Reason why obviously they're at the bottom of the table there. So I think what you probably could do if you're in Miami is I don't know. It's a tough decision, right? Because you can fill up any stadium down there that you want, right?
Yeah. And I know that you got to balance football and who's home and who's away and where you can go and all those kinds of things. But maybe you go to Marlins Park and do something.
What I was about to suggest is it a situation where you get creative at the end of a season? If you're not making the playoffs, some exhibition matches, a la Pele with the Cosmos, and maybe then you pack out Hard Rock, right?
There you go. So obviously we got to keep an eye on that. Schedule makers, once again, that here in the midweek decide not to play everybody. And
you instead of you get quality, I think, instead of quantity on this midweek match week.
All right. So as we go through midweek match week, and we had the juice boxes, and by the way, the resumption of the abandoned match because of rabid prairie dogs and Mother Nature and her anger and angst and everything. Jarrett actually was at the first half of this game, and so we're blaming Jarrett because of what happened. That the second half of Colorado and Portland is running on today.
I thought it was abandoned just because of lack of interest.
That too. Well, I mean, Jarrett was there. He could vouch for it and figure out what it was. When you look at the matchups tonight, what sticks out for you when it comes to the games today?
I think it's throughout. I think there's more quality matches, I think, than not. So right off the bat, right, early kickoffs. If Jason can get out of his food coma, I think New England, Atlanta, right? That's going to be a really fun one.
Yeah.
Red Bull, Cincinnati as well. Red Bull's playing well. They just got a big result against New England, and Cincinnati obviously down a couple of key players to the Gold Cup. So that'll be a good one. Chicago, Montreal, like what's up right now with Montreal, right? Chicago just nicked a crazy result. They're in that mix of 5 teams right now on, I think it's 26 points, right at that playoff line. So to me, that's another interesting one. I think Chicho Arango is a must watch. So right there, you're watching RSL SKC. I think RSL, I said it before, right? I bought that stock early in RSL, and now I'm loving it with Arango. What a performance on the weekend. Nashville, Philly, right? That's going to be a war as well. We'll skip right over the Colorado Portland match. LAFC St. Louis, right? Top, two of the top teams in the West. Will St. Louis go and check another box off and win on the road at LAFC? Will LAFC bounce back? That's another fun one. And then even the last two, right? St. Louis, Seattle. I'm sorry, San Jose, Seattle. Seattle just getting a big win at Vancouver, looking more like themselves, even though, again, they are also missing guys to the Gold Cup. And then Vancouver, Austin as well, right? Austin, what is it? I was on that. I wrote that story last Saturday. They've got 10 points from the last 4 matches and 11 goals in those last 4 matches. 2 of those were 3-0 Copa Tejas wins at home, but more impressively was the 4 that they put on Minnesota on the road. So they're on the road again, trying to do that against Vancouver. So they're humming a little bit as well. So I just about hit every match there, and that's me. And there's storylines abound. I think it's an interesting night, and it's Gold Cup semifinal match as well, where it's USA Panama. So
yeah, so we'll get into that too, since you have brought that up, sir. We'll get into that. When it comes to you mentioned the log jam in the conference standings, 9 through 13, 5 teams in the East at 26 points right now. Montreal has the most wins with 8, and pretty much everybody's played either 21, 22, or 23 matches.
NYCFC's played more, right?
NYCFC's played 23. Charlotte has played 22. Montreal, Red Bulls, and Chicago have each played 21. Montreal has the most wins at 8. New York, Chicago, Charlotte each have 6. Red Bulls ahead on goal difference. Charlotte gets you to -8, and then NYC has 5 wins in their 23 matches. That's why they're in 13th. Toronto, by the way, still 3-10-10, and Inter Miami or Inter Messi CF 5-13-3 at the bottom right now. But yeah, 5 teams at 26 points in the East. That's just stupid crazy. And there are 3 at 29 in the West, with Austin, Dallas, and San Jose, and Houston under Ben Olsen year 1 are at 28. So chaos is there as well in the West. And we were doing kind of the previews of some of the matches before Jason came in and you came in. And apparently in Minnesota, Timu Pukki touches the ball, everybody cheers.
Yes, but there was no Pukki party, was there?
No, there was not. How much? I'm not anticipating. Legitimately, and I enjoyed the Pukki parties when he was with Norwich.
Yes,
and how crazy talented he was in the championship in the EFL, double-digit goal scorer for a team that would finish last in the Premier League. I might be poo-pooing a Pukki party on all of this stuff, but I'm not anticipating a whole lot out of that transaction.
Yeah, I think in your power rankings of secondary transfer window moves, it's not for me at the top. No. I think that'll be an interesting. Maybe I'll do that one for OSDB when all is kind of said and done, when the window closes. A bit of a power ranking of the best moves of the secondary transfer window.
So you might be poo-pooing a Pukki party as part of your power rankings.
Yes, of my power play.
Yes.
Of the Pukki party.
Yeah, I mean, it's just and Adrian Heath, he's like, yeah, this is the scorer that we've ever wanted since Christian Ramirez left, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why did you let him go?
Didn't they also call it? I think he called it the biggest signing in the club's history or something along those lines.
Yeah, he was right.
And meanwhile, like Reynolds, like, this is why I came back. Like,
yeah.
Like, I made this move back, and I'm not the most important one.
Yeah, it's like, and I came back here after X number of months and tried to get everything figured out. I mean, Philadelphia re-signed Jim Curtin to another couple of years, and Rich Ransom, who is a part of our Twitch pitch, he's our resident Philadelphia Unionite. He's like, yeah, I kind of get it, but I'm kind of wishing that maybe Curtin should have moved on. And I know a lot of folks here on the show and that were listening and watching, they're like, well, maybe it was tied to Marsh, and since Marsh didn't get the M&T gig, then that's why Curtin isn't leaving, and now Curtin is staying. And Philadelphia.
That's one of my favorite things about the Philly fans.
Yeah,
and Rich is right there. But like, it's just things are going well, but yeah, no. It's either things are going well, but wait a minute, give it a second. It's going to go bad in the next around the next turn, or yeah, it was good on the Curtin, but what did we win? And time to move on. Like the run is over. Like I do enjoy that Philly skepticism, if you will.
Well, and it's because they're much like in a lot of other markets where it's like, I'm kind of thinking that you can't like nice things. And
Red Bull, and maybe it's because it's a relatively short distance away. Their fans are notoriously similar there.
They have fans.
Well, at least if they don't show up. They're on the social medias, constantly complaining. A lot of it is well-founded. I mean, what were the quotes about the secondary transfer? Where it was like the cookie cutter quotes. Like they had to look it up. Like, what do we say about the secondary? We're not going to make a move for the sake of making a move. There's a lot of quality on this team. We like what we have in the second team as well. Okay. That's
right. Sure. Whatever you say.
But it will be sold out for Lionel Messi and friends. So.
Yes, and it was sold out for Gold Cup. I mean, you couldn't get a seat for Guadeloupe.
Yeah, I'll be there for Newcastle as well. I think it's what is it? Newcastle. Is it Brighton, or is that the Philly match? I think it's Newcastle Brighton, but I'm interested in seeing what the crowd will be for that.
Yeah, Premier League Summer Series. You're having me look this up really quickly. So
yeah, I'm seeing two matches. One's in Philly and one's at Red Bull.
Hang on. Ticket information. Sure. Accept all cookies. Why not? I don't want to create my squad yet in fantasy. Chelsea Brighton at the link. The Link gets a doubleheader Sunday the 23rd, doubleheader the 26th. Exploria, Brighton, Newcastle, Friday the 28th is the one that's going to be there.
At RBA, yeah. The Sunday, like you said before, I'll be at it's Fulham, Brentford, and Newcastle Villa.
Yes. And here in the midweek, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle, Chelsea. See how many of the 60 players that currently are employed by Bully Clear Lake will make their way to Chelsea and see which C squad makes their way to play Newcastle. I think
I'd like to see our new. I hope our new sign. I know they're giving him some time off, but I hope our new signing plays from the midfielder from Milan.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting for us to see. If Miggy makes the trip, if Darren makes the trip, and you get the cheap pop with Newcastle, for me, like I said, it's the intrigue of the summer series. Brentford with the questions that they have, and David Raya, is he going to stay? How much are you going to get for him? What are you going to do about Ivan Toney? With Brighton, is Moises Caicedo still a part of the roster? Year 2 of that discussion. We want £100 million, and you'll probably get close. Alex, also another Newcastleian, he's in all caps. Alex says, we've got Bruno in the middle with like 9 E's. But that's it. You and Alex Pacine, you two Newcastleians are looking forward to this tour a lot. Hani Mukhtar, I don't know if you saw this.
I've heard of him, yeah.
Hani Mukhtar is allegedly, possibly, probably, maybe, perhaps being courted by a team in Qatar. Alcas and Transfermarkt's Manuel Veth confirmed by Broadway Sports Media. Hani Mukhtar has received an offer from the Qatar Stars League. Nashville has gotten a written offer from a QSL club that has been described as lucrative. Does Nashville pull the trigger on this, or are we just talking about stuff and Gary Smith's going to go, nope, I don't see Hani Mukhtar leaving anytime soon because he's too vital to what we're doing here in Nashville?
By the way, spot on the Gary Smith right there. That was really good.
Atlanta Silverbacks, baby. That was where I started.
That was really good. Here's what I'll say. I would think that regardless of where it is, they've got to have a number in their heads, right? Of where do we pull the trigger? And a lucrative deal might be where that is, right? So yeah, it's to me, it's similar to Giovinco, right? Moving from Toronto. I mean, like, you don't, in a perfect world, you don't want to do it, but this is still very much a selling league, right? So I think whatever, this number is, if it's and they've already had that in their mind. They already had an offer, right? I think from England, or at least reports of offers from England. So they have an idea. They have a number on their chalkboard in their office. If it hits that number, if it's above that number, I think they make the move. But I think unfortunately it's as simple as that.
But then you get into the question of, okay, is there, and this was something that Jarrett brought up in the first hour, that a guy like Hani Mukhtar is tailor-made for that system. He is like the poster adult for having Gary Smith's system work, because you build it on the spine and then you go from there. And you got a guy like Mukhtar who is the perfect outlet, poacher, whatever phrase you want to use, for the defense, wins the ball, shoots it forward, up over the top. Mukhtar goes and gets it and works his magic 1-on-1, 2-on-2, what have you. I think that to me kind of plays into this as well. It's like, okay, if we get all this money in the transfer window, yeah, that's great. But then what do we do offensively? Because Mukhtar has been our guy up top and he knows what to do in this system. Can you find someone that quickly? Because, we've got some time. We've got 3 weeks to sit there and try to figure out, okay, hashtag Hani replacement in all of this. And it's difficult, I think, for a system like Nashville to find someone like a Hani Mukhtar to replace Mukhtar if he goes to Qatar.
For sure, that's fair, I think. But again,
if the check clears, baby,
it's all about the Benjamins, right? It's all about the Benjamins. So
yes, and
if they get a nice big fat number out there, that's maybe a record amount in MLS.
Big fat number.
I don't think they'll say no.
How worried are you about LAFC right now?
So it's funny. I think you replace LAFC with Seattle in this question last year. And I think right until decision day, I was like, I'm not worried. They're Seattle. They're going to figure it out. And they ultimately didn't. So I don't know. I guess there's got to be I don't know what number you put on the worry, but it's got to be there, right? Like you're just hearing, well, they just need rest, right? But like, where is this going to happen, right? Like you went over Miami's schedule, like LAFC as well. They're going to go through, Leagues Cup. Maybe if they crash and burn out of Leagues Cup, maybe that'll give them the rest they need. I don't know, but I don't, if running on empty is their problem right now, I don't see the solution.
Right now, as the way things stand, it is obviously all caps SC coming to town tonight. Then you turn around and you have to travel to Minnesota to take on the Pookie Party.
Mm-hmm.
Then it is Leagues Cup in whatever form it is. You come back. Then it is home to Colorado, at Charlotte, and that gets you through August. September, hosting Intermessi. Then 6 days later, you go to Portland. Week later, it's the back end of El Tráfico. Then 4 days later, you've got to be in Middle America. Then 3 days later, you've got to be in Philly. Then you come home for Campeones Cup on the 27th of September. October, it is back into the regular season, taking on an improved RSL side, Chicho Arango Bowl right there.
Mm.
Then you're hosting Minnesota. 3 days later, you go to Austin. You get the week off. And then decision day, you're in Vancouver. There's some stretches there that are goofy, man. I mean, It is all you like the stretch in 4 games in 11 days at the tail end of September, where it's El Tráfico, travel to St. Louis, 2 days, basically travel day, regen day, Philly, and then Campeones Cup against Tigres on the 27th of September. I mean, that's cuckoo.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so, are they the team, in all this build up to Leagues Cup? Yeah. Are they like playing reserves and like, except forget it. We're not interested this year. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, exactly. One more thing before we go, and it's Leagues Cup. I mean, not Leagues Cup, Gold Cup. Semifinal tonight. What are you anticipating with the U.S., and what have you seen so far in Gold Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched a ton of it, to be honest. I was on that U.S.-Canada match, which it's funny. I was writing the recap of it, and you've got to get it up pretty much as quickly as possible after the final whistle. So, you're writing as you kind of go, and all of a sudden, Brandon Vasquez comes off the bench. The stadium's going crazy, scores a header. You're like, this writes itself. Goal, right?
Yeah.
And writing it up, it's good to go. And then, Miles Robinson's second handball, first called for a PK. It's converted by Steven Vittoria. Now you're like, great. Another 30 minutes plus. Obviously ended up being entertaining, right? Both teams utilizing more of their secondary players, right? Their depth players trying to find things out. I think more for the U.S. than Canada. I don't think, obviously Canada is not as deep as the U.S. at this moment in time. but highly entertaining. And I think, the group that loved that most was Panama, right? Knowing that they had played the day before, they have an extra day of rest, that the U.S. Has to go 120, go to PKs, tired legs, travel, all that comes with it. So that's a plus for a Panamanian team that I think will play close to the vest. They'll be defensive. They'll look to hit on the counter. They'll be very difficult to break down. So I think not an easy one at all, right? For the U.S., that's for sure.
All right. So you mentioned kind of what's going on with you with OSDB and MLSsoccer.com with stories that you think you'll write. So what's going on?
Well, what I am going to write in the last of the build up to the Women's World Cup is, saving the U.S. story for last for OSDB on Monday. So it's going to be a lot of big storylines, right? For the U.S. Maybe the biggest right now is what we just heard with Rapinoe retiring. So this is her first her last World Cup. We spoke last week that it's likely Marta's last World Cup. So these mega stars exiting at the same time. It's a very, even though you've got an Alex Morgan and a Megan Rapinoe on the roster, it's a very young U.S. team, right? So a lot of first-time experiences for a Trinity Rodman, for Sophia Smith, players of that ilk. So how will the young players do on this grand stage? And then you've got the absence as well of Becky Sauerbrunn, right? Like the leader, the no doubt captain. How will her absence affect, again, a relatively young team? And how will Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe and maybe even like a Rose Lavelle, how will they fill that leadership role? So I think it'll be addressing the big storylines going into their opener. And for MLS on tonight, I'm on the Gold Cup match. So let's hope #Team 90 Minutes, please.
Yes.
And then we'll continue on with the MLS coverage the rest of the night as well, likely.
All right,
unless we go to PKs. So
no PKs. Get your rest, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, buddy.
All right, Dylan_Butler. He's a dad today, and so now, since it is that time, as promised, here he is. Hot tag, Bart Keeler.
Good morning.
And okay, so he's busting out the Five Stripes mug, and considering it's probably going to be a late night for a lot of folks on a bunch of different fronts. Keeping an eye on.
Not too late, John.
Yeah, I know, not too late, but to wrap up all of our whip around.
Hold on, John. We got breaking news.
We do.
Season ticket renewals has hit our email boxes.
There you go. Okay. All right. So get your renewals in and get it all squared away.
Can we ask for a discount since they don't treat their players correctly?
Wow. Perhaps you should. I feel like I need like a rim shot or something for stuff like that.
Maybe what we should do is we get a discount because they bought too many U22 players. We should get the discount.
Careful there, cowboy. Careful there.
I can count to 3, John.
Let's see. Well, look
1, 2, 4.
There you go.
Actually, I think it was 1, 2, 2, 3. So I think that's how we count it.
And look at it this way. At least it's not Inter Messi CF math.
Well, they don't have rules, John.
That's true. They don't.
They have zero limitations outside of what Jorge Mas can spend and the appearance that they aren't cheating completely.
Yeah,
this isn't even LAFC getting like Gareth Bale on loan for half a season.
And Chiellini and Chiellini on an AM and all that kind of stuff.
This is John. I got a question for you.
All right.
Would you sit in those stands down at Drive Pink?
I sit in those stands on a Friday night, man.
No, listen. I will agree that some of those, shipping containers on top of bleachers at the Georgia high school stadiums are probably not super safe. But this looks like it was erected with fewer regulations than a Walmart fair. So I don't know if I would trust that. And I'm sure that's where they're putting the away fans who paid $185.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's where they're putting them.
That kind of thing. So I ain't sitting in those. But yeah, we'll go ahead and charge 2 spins for it, and we'll charge $125 for the the temporary seats for the Atlanta United Inter-Messi match on the 25th. So not afraid to do that, but I still think, man, I mean, we talked about it a lot, but you've got to go to Marlins Park, because I don't know if you can do Hard Rock because of football on Saturdays. You've got to go to Marlins Park, man.
Yeah, I don't think this is the best move for them long term. I think this is the problem that I see right now for Miami is Messi's never going to play at Freedom Park, you know, and I understand, you know, timelines don't always match up. Best made plans of mice and men have to go awry, but it's not ideal to try to cram people into a 17,000 seat stadium. Now you're adding a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 total more. Is that what it was? I don't know.
It's going to like 22 from 20, I think is.
Yeah. Okay. So we're adding 2,000 seats, which great. Fine. It's not going to be a good look. I don't think it affects Messi from a playing standpoint. I mean, listen, some of those stadiums in Spain are not exactly palaces either. So, and definitely some of the French league stadiums aren't particularly great. Yeesh. But it's more about the fact that MLS is not going to truly get the return on its investment because ticket prices or ticket availability won't be as, you know, high as they would want it. I mean, granted, I think all the other teams in MLS, looking at us here, looking at New England, looking at, you know, Seattle, even LA, you know, they're going to maximize profit because they're going to have a crap ton more tickets to sell. But for Miami itself, this is not fully capitalizing on the momentum that you have. But good for them trying to make something work. But I'm with you. I think you got to find somewhere else to go. I don't know. Resurrect the old Orange Bowl. Is that still alive?
That's Marlins Park. That's where Marlins Park is.
Oh, that's right. That's right. What about what's the other one down there?
Well, I mean,
Miami FC plays in.
It's Ricardo Silva on the campus of Florida International.
Is that? And I truly don't know. I know there are people from there. I mean, I know it's a little bit bigger. You have that. You have FAU and Boca.
Yeah.
I mean, are those options? I don't know. Is it? Okay. I'm just thinking if you can get above 25, then you're doing okay.
To me, it's got to be Marlins Park, and it's also climate controlled. So that way you could be playing indoors and not have to worry about rain, which is what they do.
Go back to FAU, get Lane Kiffin to coach him, and I think maybe.
So you'll see Kiffin throw a clipboard up when Messi scores. He goes running down the touchline and he just throws up a clipboard. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how they look at all of this and see what they're going to do. But this to a degree looks like they've got to figure out how to do profit maximization because the secondary market is going to go berserk. This we know.
Yes. And that's it's going to be insane when that happens, especially for only 22,000 seats.
Exactly. All right. The before we get into Gold Cup and stuff, this came out yesterday, and I know that Tafka and D. Graham have been yelling at each other all morning about this particular story. And the reason I bring it up is because it is news. I'm not going to bring Ted and say his name 3 times into the discussion. I know that Kaylor Hodges and our friends over at the USL show were like, we're going to go screaming into the void, but we know we have to talk about it. So we know we have to talk about it. Yesterday, in The Athletic, story comes out, Bogert and Reuter, which sounds like a law firm, USL is set for a vote on the adoption of a promotion relegation system in its lower division. And because Bart's show is Soccer for USPOD, this is why we bring this up in this segment. Set for a promotion relegation system in their lower division men's soccer structure. Sources briefed on the plans tell The Athletic. Once again, sources granted anonymity because they were not authorized to publicly discuss it, but they'll sure as hell talk to Tom Bogert and Jeff Reuter about it. Discuss it. Vote
anonymously.
Yes. Not authorized publicly to discuss the vote before it takes place. Are optimistic the vote will be passed, but it is not considered a certainty. Owners will vote on whether to proceed toward the new competitive structure at the Board of Governors meeting set to take place August 9-10 in Colorado Springs. If enacted, the USL would be the first professional league system in modern U.S. soccer history to have an open system. Vote will not be on a specific and finalized framework. Rather, the topic for a vote will confirm whether ownership at the league's clubs has enough collective interest to merit further work toward implementing an open system among the USL's professional competitions. Obviously, the USL declined any kind of comment. Upcoming vote culminates work that publicly began in earnest at the mid-year meetings in 21. Jake Edwards, this was a big thing that he brought up.
Yep.
When the organization formally proposed working toward incorporating promotion relegation between their second division championship and third division League One. And we bring in Nick, who is now a part of this discussion.
Certified Christian Pulisic hater, Nick Aliffi.
Certified.
Yeah.
Double certified. I have plaques on the wall.
I love it. I appreciate I know you don't hate Christian.
No, I don't hate Christian.
You're upset with your club right now.
I'm upset with the club. I do not hate Christian. And I'm not going to derail our USL conversation at the moment to talk about this. We could certainly keep going on the USL Pro-Rel game plan.
Well, I mean, so Nick, here's the rundown. I had a feeling we'd be going long this morning. So for Bart's segment, we will discuss the USL, we'll discuss the Open Cup, we'll discuss what's going on because Bart's previewing the matches tonight as well. He'll be back on tomorrow to give a postmortem and his senior superlatives for his Gold Cup yearbook presentation. And then after 11 o'clock, we'll get into your hatred for your team and all this kind of stuff because I had a feeling we'd be going long this morning. So
okay,
however long, let me know. Let me know how long you can hang, Nick. All right, so the USL, Bart, is going to put this to a vote. They say the move to an open system is seen by those in favor as a way to boost interest, sustainability, and growth potential in the lower division landscape of American soccer, given the format's increased stakes at both ends of the table. I'll continue with quotes. Initial reaction, Bart.
Three things. We'll go first off the top. I think this is a good thing for USL. I think this is a good move for them to incorporate at least the first two tiers of their structure. Obviously, USL 2 in its current form is a totally different animal that could never fully be a part of a promotion relegation pyramid. But I do think the idea of promotion relegation between 1 to 3 leagues is a really cool idea for USL to implement. However, I don't think this makes them anywhere close to the top league or league structure in the United States for a lot of reasons that I'll discuss in a second. It also is not a fully open system. So I think that people who want to celebrate this as a win for Pro-Rel for USA don't understand that this is purely a business decision for them to not necessarily compete against MLS, but to compete within their own markets and to compete within outside forces to just get people to come to the soccer games, right? I mean, there are soccer fans in Omaha, Nebraska, right? Are they going to Union Omaha games? This is a way to try to get them to come. That does not mean that Union Omaha suddenly is going to be competitive with a team like, well, they might be competitive with Colorado, but like a team like Kansas City or Austin or Atlanta even, that's not what is going to happen. Certainly not in the short term. I do, however, think this is a good thing for them to force clubs to act more professionally, because if the one criticism I could have of USL is that they don't hold their clubs to the same professional standard that MLS does for obvious reasons, but you should have some higher standards, specifically when it comes to your facilities and infrastructure of how you conduct your competition. And I think this will help. This is not going to magically make the USMNT better. This is not magically going to make USL teams as good as MLS teams. But it is a good thing. It will improve the overall quality of soccer in the United States, and it will definitely improve the product that USL has on its field.
Nick, go for it.
Well, I think it's a good thing. I say this while openly saying that Pro-Rel is not going to go to MLS. I don't think anytime soon. No, and the reason being is it's this magical word you hear kicked around in corporate offices all over America. It's called risk, right? And so some people in MLS, I think, would have no trouble at all trying to do Pro-Rel because they would invest the resources necessary to ensure that their team would not fall below that line. I think there are some other owners who might have significant challenges with that and not want to invest the money in facilities, stadiums, and so forth, if they thought that there was a possibility that they would go from playing against NYCFC and Atlanta United one season, and then Northern Colorado Hailstorm and Union Omaha in the next. But in USL, you have more risk takers, right? I mean, you are putting yourself into a position where you're buying a team in a market like Statesboro, for example, with the Van Tassels, who have done phenomenal work down there. And, there's a gamble inherently a part of that process, and they have embraced it. But there's also right now a hard cap on some of those teams where they could move up to the upper echelons of USL, that have the capability of competing in the upper echelons. But because of where they came in, they're sort of stuck there. And I think that this sort of pathway for these teams to migrate to the upper reaches and the lower reaches of USL, I think is magnificent for USL. And if you're in Omaha, if you are in Statesboro, if you're in Jacksonville, Miami, for the Miami FC or Charleston Battery, I think this is wonderful. And the Open Cup audience, I think, shows that the appetite's there. It's great for U.S. soccer overall, because you're going to have kids in these smaller markets suddenly understand what real pressure is. And, iron sharpens iron. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
While the specifics of the plan, the article continues. I feel like Charles McCord on the Imus in the Morning Show. While the specifics of the plan are still up for deliberation before being finalized, the league is exploring, meaning Big USL, creating an additional tier between the championship and League One's current standing. Expansion teams may step into the new middle tier pending payment of fees greater than those necessary for entry into League One. One source told Bogert and Reuter that getting into League One right now is $5 million. $5 million to get into League One. And you're seeing gradual
right. So we're starting our GoFundMe right now for a USL Atlanta team. Is that what you're telling me?
I guess so. Sporting merit would dictate some clubs dropping from the championship to the new circuit. One source said they were not aware of any way in which a pre-existing club could move up or down the initial pyramid beyond on-field performance. This would eliminate the potential for an existing League One club to buy their way into levels above them. Creating a third tier for professional USL clubs is seen as a crucial step for a successful model. One source told them you can't call this a true promotion relegation model if only one league has promotion and the other league has relegation. There wouldn't be enough at stake. So that's what you're staring at.
Scared money don't make money.
Well, and to that end, I mean, you're looking at the possible idea of owners, and I know that we sit there and we look at this and go, okay, if you're an owner of a franchise and you don't want, as Nick says, scared money don't make money, operating under the assumption, Bart, that there would be owners who would buy in to these existing franchises and spend the money necessary to go and be a part of this inserted tier or the USL Championship or USL League One, and not be afraid to invest in those kinds of things.
Right. And I think, again, that's to Nick's point, that risk question of who wants to invest that risk, or are we really seeing that the risk isn't that great, right? Because that's the hope, I think, within USL is to make themselves a good enough product that they're getting people to come to their stadiums at a decent enough rate that they're, making maybe not profit, because I don't think sports teams do that in the way that we think they do.
Right.
But making it worthwhile. And that doesn't mean that you're spending millions and millions upon millions of dollars to suddenly compete in USL League One to try to get up to the USL Championship. But, we're not going to see that type of Saudi and public investment fund type thing, but we may see local rich people in all of these markets try to bring about some really competitive soccer. But again, I think it goes back to, for me, this isn't about the players on the field. It's the field on which they're playing, the stadium on which they're playing, and the grounds at which they train. Because if USL doesn't improve those three things, the players aren't going to come, and the players aren't going to be good when they do come.
Right. Because you're going to have players who will say, I'm either stepping away from the game, right, because it's not worth going and playing in, high school, preparing my game in some high school locker room, and
or a storage pod.
Yeah, or a storage pod, and if you have an owner who, and I'm gonna throw the Van Tassels out there, who are investing significant funds in a stadium, in training facilities, and in the pitch itself, those key points that Bart hit on. If you have that, it makes you more attractive. Now, back in the days of WPS, right, the second iteration of women's professional soccer,
right,
seeing that landscape, you saw a couple of owners who were unbelievably committed to the success of the league and their team. And then you saw what I call hobby owners. They don't have enough money to get into the NFL the NFL might as well be on Mars. They don't have enough money to get into hockey or MLS. They didn't have enough money to really get into, any other type of upper echelon than sporting avenues. So they got into women's professional soccer, and they were just kind of sort of there. And that's why you saw the league, in my opinion, crumble, because you had not enough dedicated owners and too many hobby owners. And you had some people with great facilities and some with disastrous facilities in the process. USL is going to have to weed out the people who, Jim Bob's, truck in tow, God bless him, probably sponsored a USL team and they did really well. But Jim Bob doesn't want to spend any more of that money. Find someone who will. And this process, I think, will help make that happen.
And so obviously we'll keep an eye on this. The USLPA came out with a statement, 2021 meeting, standards updated February.
But John, one last thing, and here's the difference for people who may get a big idea about this.
Right.
This is not like you're Burnley having to stock a team that's going to go against Liverpool, Man City, Man United,
right,
and the big boys of the Prem. You're trying to prepare yourself to go against Charleston Battery. You can find local players who can do that. You can find local players who can compete against Colorado Hailstorm or, San Diego Loyal. These players are local and you can find them. You don't have to go fishing in European or South American ponds to make this happen. And I think that's where the growth opportunity for local soccer can happen.
I think you're 100% on the right track, Nick, where the one thing that I was hoping that USL would be doing anyway, and they kind of started that with their USL Academy system, is giving more local talent, places like Louisville, places like Omaha, places like both ends of the state of Colorado, especially because it's not like the Rapids do a great job. But Stan Kroenke's MLS team is getting a lot of shit.
Says the man who's the Arsenal fan talking about KSE. I knew that was coming.
What is, you have a lot of markets outside of the big cities where soccer still exists. I mean, Birmingham, I referee teams from the Birmingham area all the time. They've got good talent there. Can they go to that local professional academy? Can the professional academy down in South Georgia, start churning out players? Because that is, to your point, Nick, what's going to help this new league structure really take off is you can get a good level of play from your academy products or just local talent in general. Add to that some of the better players from the league. I mean, this is good for, going to just be honest here, it's good for nations like Jamaica, like Panama, like Curacao, a lot of those smaller CONCACAF nations that now have a possibly more legitimate league to play in as well. We already see a lot of them stocking the USL level teams, but giving them just a slightly 10, 20% better competition is also going to elevate soccer from that standpoint. So I agree with you, Nick, in that to me, the biggest growth opportunity is how do you get your academy structure good? How do you get those local players to perform well on your team? And then how do you bring in some stars, if you will, to supplement that?
And coaches. You can bring coaches in as well. A lot of coaches who could be really good.
Yes.
And instead of going to become mid-level management doing Excel spreadsheets, maybe say, hey, there's an opportunity for me to still pursue my dream and get paid doing it. Yeah. So that's another growth opportunity.
And hopefully, I mean, if you're from MLS, right, I don't know if this is going to compete with MLS yet. I'm not ready to make those claims. I know they think that, but like all businesses are going to say, if I were to launch a soda company today, I'm going to say it's going to compete with Coke. It's not going to. But can it push MLS and make it better? Because ultimately, if you're a fan of U.S. soccer in general, you want this league to force MLS to make changes or adapt or grow to respond to this, or just, if anything, have to be better. And that, to me, is a plus.
By the way, before we get into Gold Cup, we got
to talk about that today.
Yeah, we do. We're going to talk about. We got to talk about Gold Cup. I got to do this. Lionel Messi's at the training facility for Inter Miami. There are cameras shooting through the fence to try and get a glimpse of Lionel Messi. We're going to be doing this until the end of time, aren't we?
Yeah.
All right.
Taise is already getting, I'm sure they're renting the Goodyear blimp to do the flyover.
Taise had a chopper shot. And by the way, for those that want to invest in Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, where you can watch Taise Sports right now on Sportia, their flagship morning program, they have a camera outside the fence at the training facility at Inter Messi at CF, and they are shooting video through the fence of players walking out of the training building, out onto the pitch, looking at how hot it is, and then walking back inside. They're shooting video of players walking into the training facility in their street clothes, wondering, when is practice going to start? And gee, it's really hot out here.
Well, when Carlos Tevez was going to sign with Boca, again, probably for like the 18th time, Taise commandeered a camera at that overlooked like a beach pavilion area, and they left it there all day running while they had commentators sitting there going, okay, somebody's going into the tent. Someone is leaving the tent.
And kind of updating what's going on, by the way. According to Manuel Veth at Transfermarkt, sources on Rodolfo Pizarro. Looks like Pizarro and Inter Messi CF have agreed on a mutual contract termination that will free up a DP spot for Lionel Messi. Pizarro is then free to join a club outside of Major League Soccer. Veth is saying that appears to be Greek side AEK. So we'll keep an eye on that. So that's your Messi / Pizarro / players are walking update. Gold Cup. Bart, we got semis going on tonight. When you look at these two matchups, yes, quarters, whatever. It's teams.
It's semifinals, yes.
Semis. It's semis. So semifinals tonight, 7:30, 10:30. At least they've given the United States audience the early match where Mexico.
We'll talk about that.
Yes. So U.S. gets the early match. The late match is at 10:30 involving El Tri, who is apparently back. So you're down to the final four, Bart. What do you see in these two?
I see Jamaica making a final and Panama making a final.
Far out.
I don't mean that dismissively. Look, I'm going to be real honest. If I'm a U.S. fan, which I am, I'm looking at this match as fun. This is a learning experiment. It's a thought experiment. We're testing players out. I don't want a reactionary play Miazga and Long because Jalen Neal had a bad game. Start Jalen Neal, right?
Yes.
Worst case scenario, we lose a semifinal of the Gold Cup and we go, well, we were playing Jalen Neal. We were playing a 19-year-old center back. At this point, we've done what we needed to do. We beat Canada. They're out. They ain't got nothing to say anymore, John. Right? So back.
That's not going to stop John Herdman, though.
Well, listen, they need to sweep their own house before they start sweeping ours. So y'all take care of your own shit. But
rating for the morning.
Sorry, it's 11 o'clock. It's basically prime time.
I know.
It is. Look, I think the U.S. is up for a very big challenge. Panama has scored a bucket of goals this year or this tournament. They have some players who are playing incredibly well. In fact, I think a couple of them maybe even might be on my superlatives list tomorrow. I've got some categories figured out, so we'll see how they fill that. This is going to be hopefully a fun game to watch more than anything. I doubt that a little bit because the U.S. attacking trio will probably include Sendejas, and one of Morris or Gressel, which probably means not very exciting soccer to watch. But, look, I think that this match for the U.S. is just at this point supposed to be a fun thought experiment to see who can figure it out at a big stage and who can't. Kickoff is at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
Kickoff is at 7:30 because they have a game after that. That is how this will work. It may be 8 o'clock. Let's be honest, but it should be 7:30.
In theory.
I do not like the fact that this is a 4:30 kickoff local time because this is in San Diego, but that's CONCACAF for you.
And it's also the East Coast audience, which takes up a good portion of your American viewing audience, regardless of what network you're paying attention to.
Yeah.
So is Eltree back?
No.
Are they back?
No. I mean, they very well could win this tournament. I think it's likely. I think Jamaica could also win this tournament. But as I've always said, never trust the Jamaicans. So it's probably more likely Mexico makes the final. I don't think they're back because, again, you're looking at a U.S. team that wasn't playing their best team. You're looking at a Canada team that was not playing their best players. Obviously, Mexico not playing their best players, but their share of best players was higher on this squad than the U.S. or Canada. And I don't know if Mexico has a best player right now, to be quite honest. They are figuring themselves out. But yeah, I mean, look, if they win and they go on to win the Gold Cup, that's probably a good momentum builder for their federation and their team that is struggling right now. I think the best over-under tonight should be how many stoppages do we have because of the chant.
Yeah.
And or how many times do we hear it actually on television?
And how many times they don't stop because of the chant.
Right. So if Jamaica gets a goal or two in this game, then expect the chant. And that'll be a fun thing for CONCACAF to figure out. But no, Mexico's not back, John. They're going to – I don't think they've been fallen as far as people want them to say they've fallen. They're still clearly the second best team in this nation or this confederation, but it's fine.
Yes.
They're fine.
Yeah, so they're fine. All right, so tomorrow with you, it is Senior Superlatives. Bart is cracking open his Gold Cup yearbook, and it is Senior –
I have a yearbook here with me,
John. It is the South Gwinnett Comet. Yes, the South Gwinnett Comets yearbook for Bart. He's cracking that open tomorrow for Senior Superlatives. It'll be disappointments. It'll be surprises. It'll be teams. It'll be players. It'll be his best 11. It might be his worst 11. Over-unders on pars. It'll be basically Bart's reaction. Senior Superlatives Gold Cup yearbook tomorrow. And so what do we say after opening kickoff, Bart's like, 9:20?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so we'll come out of the blocks like 9:20, and we'll talk about his Senior Superlatives. At SoccerForUSPod, at Bartimus Prime 19. Bart, you're very, very busy with us because it is a very, very busy time for you and what is going on in the Soccer for US. So we will catch up with you and your yearbook tomorrow.
Thanks, John. Nick, good to talk with you. Thanks, everyone. Y'all have a great one.
There we go. Bart Keeler. He's going to sip from his Atlanta United mug and curse Stan Kroenke. All right. We're obviously going into extra time this morning because we have plenty to talk about. And I've wanted to have you on, Nick, for quite some time to discuss what is going on in Serie A from both a player perspective and from a financial perspective, because there's a lot to digest here involving ownership groups, player pursuits, things like that. So take it in whatever direction you want. You can start with Pulisic. You can start with Redbird. You could start with Lukaku. I don't care. Go for it.
The big issue that I have right now is that you have a league that is in financial trouble, even though that they've been allegedly ranked, the second most competitive league in the world. I think I saw that behind the Prem. So it's the Prem, then it's Serie A, and then I want to say it's like La Liga and from there. But there are financial statements that get put out every year, and Milan has said that they haven't been in as good a financial in like north of a decade, right? That they're cash flow positive, that they're reducing, the debts across the board. Redbird is, moving toward a cost savings model using the Billy Bean Moneyball method, advanced analytics. And when they shoved Maldini out the door, which I've ranted on in great detail, we knew that it was going to be Moncada and Furlani running AC Milan going forward. Cardinale is essentially the guy who just says, yay, nay, whatever. This is sort of the direction I want to go in and make it work. But what you have now is the most American ownership group, even with Moncada and Furlani there. It is the most Americanized corporate model in all of Serie A. And you are seeing players mentioned with Milan that, wouldn't have been brought up, 5 years ago. And Christian Pulisic's one of them. And I know that he has his fans, diehard supporters, U.S. men's national team fans and supporters. Fine and great. Pulisic is a fine player.
Fine.
The injury history is well known with him. I don't think that this move is good for anyone. I don't think it's good for Pulisic. I don't think it's good for the U.S. men's national team. I don't think it's good for Milan. It's great for only one group and one group only, and that is the marketing team at Milan. The end. You have players who Milan has been rumored to be chasing. Almada is one of them. Milan has been crying poverty for a long time. Well, we don't have money. We don't have money. Our books are great, but we don't have money. We don't have money. But we're going to go and, throw 20+ million out to get Christian Pulisic. We're going to, allegedly they're going after Balogun now. And that's okay, great. But here's the thing that's being missed by a lot of people in the joyous uproar by USMNT supporters for Pulisic going to the red and black. And that is that Italian players are not signing with Milan right now. You had Frattesi with Sassuolo, who was like, nope, I'm going to go to Inter. Inter is broke. They are functionally broke. Yep. Scamaccia was not wanting to. He said, nope, I'm not going to Milan either. Nope, I want to go to Roma. That's where I want to go. If I stay here where I am now, it's fine. But if I go to Italy, I'm going to Roma. Italian players they saw what happened with Tonali. They saw what happened with Maldini, and they want nothing to do with it. And so while the U.S. men's national team fan base may be rushing out to their local Puma outlets to buy a Milan shirt, understand that for those of us who have been following the club for a long time, there's a lot of concern because in Serie A, from a financial standpoint, you need to have domestic players on your roster in order to be financially solvent, right? It's the cheapest way to get players is going to be local kids who come up through your academy system or younger players who come up through one of these feeder teams and end up with the big boys. That's how Juve was competitive for so long. Milan was that way for a while. This has nothing to do with Pulisic being American. This has nothing to do with a foreigner coming to play at Milan. We have had plenty of foreign players come through the ranks of this club and be very, very successful. The reason why I say this is not a good move for Pulisic is that Pioli is a manager, and we've seen this with some of the most recent acquisitions, whether it was Hauge or whether it was De Ketelare. If the minute Pioli feels that you aren't picking things up as quickly as he would like, you are going to the farthest end of the bench in the seat farthest from the spotlight, and you will stay there. And it will take an act of Congress and an act of God to get you out of there. It's going to take a binding UN resolution to get Pulisic out of the back end of that bench if Pioli feels that he's not cutting it. The things working in Pulisic's favor. He has played with Olivier Giroud. He understands how Giroud moves. There could be something there. Great. He has friends on the team that can help him sort of navigate the ins and outs. To me, this screams marketing move. I hate the move. I don't like the move. I don't want the move to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. So now I got to deal with it. And now I got to deal with all the Pulisic stands who are like, yeah, the big AC Milan, man. And whenever Pulisic moves on in 2 years, then they'll move on to the next club that he goes to. But we were sold that this was a club that was going to be making moves for young players that we could sell, right? Young players we could develop and sell. We're not going to make any money from Christian Pulisic. None. We got him for like what, 20, 22 million? We're not going to sell him for 35, 40 million next season or 2 seasons from now. It's not happening, right? It's the same thing with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Right? He's 27 years old. We're not moving him for profit. So don't tell us that you're doing this by some sort of crazy Moneyball algorithm. No one in Italy gives a damn who Billy Bean is, right?
Yeah.
Don't tell us that there's some great plan for financial solvency by getting young players and selling them for a profit later on when you sign a 27-year-old Ruben Loftus-Cheek and a Christian Pulisic. There's no resale value there. And to me, that's the biggest issue that I have with Milan and this signing. Look, I hope the kid stays healthy. I hope he does well. If he does, I will be one of the first to come on here and say, yep, glad I was wrong on that, because I want the club to do well. But this is a blatant push for English eyeballs and American eyeballs, and I refuse to hear any argument to the otherwise.
Let's get into the other the transfer news that is involving Serie A teams because there is plenty. And the way that it's shaking out, and this is all gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and we'll give the sources that are attached, and I'll have Nick discuss. Basically, we'll play a Serie A cliffhanger with Nick here. If there's a transaction he wants to say anything about, basically, he just jumps in and says something about it, and I'll stop it, and I won't feel like I'm being interrupted. Juve midfielder Paul Pogba will be offered a £128 million over 3-year deal to join a club in Saudi Arabia from our friends at Gazzetta dello Sport.
Have fun.
There's a couple of things about Harry Kane. West Ham and Gianluca Scamacca would be keen to work under Roma manager Jose Mourinho if he returns to Serie A.
Yep, just talked about that. Yet again, another Italian player who does not want to sign with Milan and instead wants to go elsewhere in Serie A. A team that, keep this in mind, guys. Milan made the semifinals of the Champions League, and yet Frattesi and Scamacca want nothing to do with signing there. That should be not just red flags. That should be like a communist Chinese Mayday parade of red flags.
Also on the board, Napoli president Aurelio De Laurentiis thinks only PSG have the financial power to meet his valuation of €150 million for Victor Osimhen.
He's De Laurentiis is clinically insane, but he's also a genius. If the man says that PSG is the only team that can afford him, I have zero doubts that what he's saying is accurate.
Chelsea have delayed Romelu Lukaku, Hakim Ziyech, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's return to training. Lukaku's aiming for a return to Inter. Aubameyang is wanted by clubs in Europe, and Ziyech is interested in clubs in the Saudi Pro League, but that is from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril.
If Inter can find any more money in the couch cushions, sure, but have fun with that. Lukaku was allegedly Milan allegedly was saying it was a trolling move to say that they were interested in signing Lukaku. I don't buy that for a moment, but have fun. Lukaku back to Inter makes sense for everyone involved. Just find the deal and make it happen. Everyone wins on that one. Inter is better when Lukaku is there working with Lautaro.
Also, Manchester United edging closer to an agreement for Inter Milan keeper Andre Onana.
Oh God, that kid's a stud. And for for Milanista to say that any player with Inter is worth their salt. That's a statement that, Inter does not. Interisti do not want to lose that guy. He's a phenomenal keeper, aggressive, athletic, makes all the saves you want your keeper to make. He can, he can really organize a back line. Yeah, that kid's a stud. If United get him, they've absolutely issued highway robbery on Europe.
From our friends at Calcio Mercato, with Sergei Milinkovic-Savic now heading to Saudi Arabia, Lazio are eyeing Napoli's Peter Zielinski, but the Polish midfielder has also been offered a big contract from an unnamed Saudi club.
This is the one move that shocked me. Sergei Milinkovic-Savic was the guy who, 5 years ago was like $100 million valuation, 120 million euro valuation. And now for him to be like, yep, I'm going to Saudi Arabia. Everyone picked him to be staying in Serie A. Everything I've heard is that he loved playing there, that he was comfortable playing in Rome. But, the money is talking really loudly to a lot of these guys. And so, he said, no, I want to go to Saudi Arabia. Okay, fine, have fun. But we are witnessing a seismic shift at the moment and where these older players are going. I have no problem with it from the standpoint of, who watches. There's no player who could go to the Saudi League and have me be like, wow, I can't wait to watch, any of these teams play against each other. Okay, whatever, have fun. But I think this is great inadvertently for MLS clubs, because a lot of the guys like a Pogba, who MLS club would have been very interested in, where Pogba could have come over here and done a sleepwalking routine, or Sergei Milinkovic-Savic would have come over here and done a sleepwalking routine where, they play, half-heartedly and collect their checks or they're out of the league in a season or two. That's not good for MLS. So I would rather those players go and collect their big fat checks over in Saudi Arabia or Qatar and avoid MLS and get some hungrier players over here who want to show up and show out.
It is joining Al Hilal in a 40 million euro transfer from Lazio. It's according to Fabrizio Romano, he's going to sign a 3-year deal to go play at Al Hilal. So this obviously is not going to be the last one that we're going to hear about all this kind of stuff. You're going to have the Saudi Pro League jumping in with high prices. Al Nassr apparently. Speaking of the Saudi Pro League, and it was somewhat ironic and funny because it's the team that is attached to CR38. Apparently, Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr have been banned from registering new players because they had an issue, been banned from registering any more new players following a dispute with Leicester City. They obviously they got him for the $175 million. They got Karim Benzema that was attached to it. The Saudi club's failure to pay Leicester add-ons relating to a deal for Ahmed Musa, the former CSKA Moscow forward, joined the Foxes immediately in 2016. Little success in England. Sold to Al Nassr for a fee believed to be in the region of £14 million back in 2018. 60 games from Al paid by the end of the ban. And then they have so Al Nassr is stomping their feet and complaining about it, and the side's new structure will ensure that a repeat will go. So so over £460,000 CR38's club in Saudi Arabia have been banned from registering new players. So you'll drop 9 figures on folks, but you apparently, possibly, probably, allegedly will not pay $460. Yes, they did, Alex. They had a legal dispute with Al Nassr over pity payments as well. So that should tell you something, perhaps, possibly, probably, maybe, when it comes to Pity Martinez.
Well, here's the thing. You have to look for any deal that you ever make, right? And this is for anybody on the Twitch pitch, anyone listening. When someone comes up and produces eye-popping numbers for anything, right? The idea is to run you off the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in poker. When somebody goes all in very early on, all they want to do is run you off the table to make you go, wow, I'm just going to take this money and run, right? I've had a pretty good night. I've been handling my business, or I've had a really good quarter, or I've had a pretty good couple of years building this business. I'm going to take this stupid eye-popping number and run. I'm leaving the table. Issues like this, where you have an initial crazy splash for cash that's put on paper, and then the delivery of the funds are two very different things. Somebody can say, I'm going to buy SDH for $2.4 billion. Everybody on here is going to go, LOL, yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a big difference between saying you're going to buy it for that money and then when the first payment is received.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to money, it's cash on delivery, or I better see all of the money in place in my account before I move asset one over.
Mm-hmm.
So as we talk about this crazy money that's being splashed, no. We're talking about crazy numbers that are being splashed. We are talking right now about cash that's not being moved. And when you have to bring in lawyers and, the court of CAS has to get involved, that's indicative of a major challenge, right? So either you have, no one's doubting that the Saudi clubs have money, but what is there's a big difference between having assets and liquid cash.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we have some finance folks on the Twitch pitch who can absolutely chime in on this as well. There's a big difference between having a ton of assets and no cash, right? Cash poor.
Yep.
But I would be very interested to see over the next season or two some of these players who are not Cristiano Ronaldo or like a Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, to a lot of these mid-level to lower tier players who suddenly start saying, hey, I'm not receiving my checks on time, or I'm having issues with payment, or more clubs saying, hey, we're not going to do business. Hey, agent, we're not doing business with this Saudi club because they don't pay on time.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things that we need to focus on. Don't be blinded by the large numbers up front. Do your due diligence, do your research to find out what what the payment history looks like as well. So that's all I'm saying. It's going to be interesting.
Yep. Juve contingency plans. They've also identified Scamacca and Noah Okafor of Red Bull Salzburg as replacements if Vlahovic leaves Turin this summer. That's from Gianluca Di Marzio. Also,
Vlahovic needs to leave. He needs to leave there. And I think that and Bam just nailed it. If you're on the Twitch pitch right now, everyone look at Bam's comment.
An example is the owners of the company I work for has over $10 billion in assets, asked for a payment plan for a 450 million Australian dollar fine. So that's what you're staring at.
That's
difference between assets and liquidity. There is a big difference with that. We know a lot of you are trying to, as you're listening to us in the background, we know you're chasing after your season ticket renewals as well, and you're talking about increases and things like that. Torino center back Per Schurz is being monitored by Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool, who are out to add defensive depth without breaking the bank. AC Milan working to strike a deal for midfielder Tijani Reinders of AZ Alkmaar, while the Rossoneri are also monitoring both Mehdi Taremi and Samuel Chukwueze. Once again, that is from Gianluca Di Marzio. So And Angelino apparently is leaving Galatasaray and agreed to sign RB Leipzig on loan with a purchase option. So AT&T, no, we have not seen the new prices for the AT&T Loft, but apparently AT&T is also attaching themselves to MLS properties and All-Star, because that came out as well early this morning. Other transfer news quickly. Harry Kane is keen to join Bayern Munich, who've made 2 bids. Could be offered £400,000 a week if Ange Postecoglou convinces him to stay. Bournemouth ahead of Spurs.
Let me say one thing. Hey,
Yeah.
if Harry Kane stays, well, one thing before I forget, because my ADHD is through the roof.
Yeah.
Hey, Bam, if you know Ross Pellegrin, bud, Bam, I need some contact information, man. I'm trying to get in touch with him about Catania. So just hit me up on the threads or on Twitter and let me know if you got those contacts, bud.
And
you're my man, and you're my man over down under. So
yes, and by the way, Say right now is doing a look at the exclusive condo tower that Lionel Messi has a condo in Miami. They have taken a car, they've gone into the garage, and they're showing you where Lionel Messi will be living at this time in Miami.
And look, Harry Kane, there's no more sympathy for Harry Kane. If he stays at Spurs, there's no more sympathy for Harry Kane. I don't want to hear anything else about, oh, poor Harry Kane, the best striker, English striker of his generation, and never win a title. Look, no. He chose his business. If he stays at Spurs, you know what you're getting. It's like somebody who cheats on you in a relationship and you stay with them.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're getting going forward if it goes south. Maybe they turn around and they figure out and they get their life righted. I hope that for everyone. But they go right back to their bad ways. It's the life you've chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And Kane, make the right choice, my man. Get out. Get out.
Bournemouth ahead of Spurs, West Ham, and Wolves in pursuit of Bristol City's midfielder Alex Scott. Victor Gyökeres set to leave Coventry City for Sporting Lisbon. Interesting. That's from the 4-letter paper. Fee up to £20 million. Keep an eye on. Chelsea preparing an offer for Lyon's 19-year-old forward Ryan Cherki. Everton interested in Manchester United's Anthony Elanga. Burnley have made Gustavo Hammer their next target, the midfielder from Coventry City. Nottingham Forest in talks with Manchester United over a deal for Dean Henderson, considering a move for Jose Sa from Wolves. Both solid pickups there. Arsenal hopeful of signing Declan Rice before the squad fly to the U.S. for their preseason tour on Sunday. Remember, that's £105 million. Southampton considering a move for Hoffenheim's Jacob Brun-Larsen. That's from the 4-letter paper. Arsenal have joined Spurs and Chelsea in wanting Celta de Vigo's Spanish midfielder Gabri Vega. PSG are not interested. Manchester City set to sign Manchester United's 16-year-old defender Harrison Park after United tried to sign their 16-year-old twins, Jack and Tyler Fletcher. And speaking of Nottingham Forest. Speaking of Nottingham Forest, and I know that this is very rare, as the story loads from MLS Next Pro, Huntsville City has announced the signing of Fernando Ciceron from Violette in the Haitian League. So that's your CONCACAF Champions League fix.
As Bart has said.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now there was a where is it? In the Premier League. It was word came down, and we talked about how Ivan Toney was getting into trouble for the betting issues that he has with and he got busted on that. So he is currently under suspension. And it was, yes, the Athletic. That's what I'm doing. People, good Lord. Where is it? Come on. It's like I'm looking for a story on Harry Toffolo, and it doesn't want to give it to me. So, all right. So fine, I'll go to my phone and look at the app this way. You see, Nick, this is what happens when you want a story to pop up, and then it doesn't pop up for you.
It's the great laws of technical Murphy.
That is absolutely okay. Here we go. Alex Brody at the Athletic, and their international coverage is absolutely amazing, and it happened within the last hour. Nottingham Forest Harry Toffolo has been charged by the Football Association with 375 alleged breaches of betting rules.
What?
The charges relate to alleged breaches between January 22nd, 2014 and March 18th of 2017. 27-year-old was at Norwich from 2014 to 2018.
Oh, my God.
Time on loan. Swindon, Rotherham, Peterborough, and Scunthorpe United. Joined Forest in 22 after spells at 3 other places. 19 times in the Premier League last season. He has until July 19th to respond to the charges. Ivan Toney was banned for 8 months back in May over 232 breaches of FA betting rules. Harry Toffolo has blown the curve. 375 alleged breaches when he was with his time when he was at Norwich City.
Is he betting on like gerbil races or something?
I don't know.
How the hell? My brother in Christ, please seek gambling help immediately. Like, please get help. There are professional organizations that can help you. And I say that with
alleged breaches.
Oh my
375 alleged breaches.
What are you betting on? Like the socks? Like we bet that they'll wear this particular set of socks today. Like
it's all these prop bets.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So keep an eye on the Harry Toffolo situation. When he was a younger player at Norwich, he bet on 375 times allegedly. So keep an eye on that. Really quickly, the other juice boxes for tonight, the late games. We mentioned Colorado and Portland. Goalless at the break. We all blame Jarrett Smith that game was stopped at the half.
Yeah, that's it. That's him.
And so LAFC and St. Louis City right now. LAFC is at a minus 196. Your draws a plus 350. St. Louis City's at a plus 482. 1039 San Jose and Seattle. San Jose, basically, they've thrown a blanket over the whole thing. Both are basically at a plus 164. And that's a composite. For a composite of 18 juice box purveyors to have basically the same average for San Jose and Seattle, with San Jose being the home team. Draws a plus 231. And Vancouver and Austin FC. Vancouver's a minus 139. Austin FC is a plus 317. Your draw is a plus 322. And going over, once again, just where you can watch the stuff tonight. And we'll finish up with one other piece of breaking news, developing news that has just come across our wires. Once again, remember, 7:30, U.S. and Panama in San Diego. 10 o'clock, it is Jamaica and Mexico in Las Vegas. It is season pass for everybody. Nothing is on the free side tonight. So MLS season pass is loaded up there tonight. And one piece of news before we go, and this is a story that we have followed for quite some time here on SDH. You can go back into the archive and listen to the interview. USL has announced an exclusive partnership with USL Arkansas, a group that will bring professional men's and women's soccer club to Northwest Arkansas. Nick? USL Arkansas is led by co-founders Chris Martinovich and Warren Smith.
Well,
Northwest Arkansas includes the cities of Bentonville, Fayetteville, Rogers, and Springdale, and is home to a rapidly growing population of more than 570.
Wow.
So that piece has now been put into play, and trying to see if there is a date that has been attached.
While you're doing that, let me go ahead and jump in with this. For people who don't understand Bentonville, Arkansas, why in God's name Bentonville would even come up? That is the headquarters for Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's one of my wife's best friends lives in Tulsa, and they vacation in Bentonville. And when they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Bentonville," I'm like, wait, why in God's name would you go vacation in Bentonville? They looked at me like I had 9 eyeballs and an antenna growing out of my head. They said, "There's more fine art in Bentonville, Arkansas than most major cities, because Walmart has invested so much stupid money in that place that the fine art that you find there is almost second to none outside of Los Angeles and New York and Chicago. The trails, the hiking trails, the biking trails are absolutely insane. Again, Walmart has gone, because if you do business with Walmart, you have to have an office in Bentonville. So every time you go through Walmart, you see all these crazy companies that are there. They all have to have an office in Bentonville. And Springdale, that's coming down the road. John and I will talk more about that later on, hopefully. We may look, understand the SDH is on the vanguard of a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A lot of things. And yes, and Alex brought up a really good point. He says, ha, this guy was crazy with all his betting. Hey, let's review the betting odds for these MLS matches. Yes. Yeah. That's it. Fair. We'll say that's fair. But yeah, don't sleep on Bentonville, Arkansas in that area. I'm just telling you, there's a bunch of sneaky, crazy money in that area.
Yep. Their plan is for both USL Championship and the USL Super League on the women's side to launch before the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So
love it. And I love that Dark Clouds is selling the Grant Wall scarves as well. That's fantastic.
Yep. Shop.mnwonderwall.com. And then you can go into products and get the scarf there as well. Like I said, I figured we were going long this morning because of everything going on. Later today, we'll have our USL Championship and USL League One review preview shows up and running. Tomorrow, it is a relatively normal show. Bart's going to come on with his Senior Superlatives Gold Cup yearbook after the U.S. match, and we'll have our final squared away. And we'll also dive into the USLW semifinals, national semifinals. We'll be catching up with those coaches. That show's going to come out on Friday, previewing the Final Four in the USLW. We've also got, remember, NPSL Final Four. Yeah, Bam, it's 1:40 in the morning. You should be going to bed.
Bam. Love you, Bam.
Yep. So also NPSL semifinals tonight in the Southern Conference. It is Charlottetown Hops at Apotheos at North Cobb Christian. Jarrett Smith will be on the call for that. 3 versus 2 Revolution at App FC. That's at 7 o'clock. You can catch up with that on their Facebook page. Jarrett and should be Ben McKittrick will be on 11 Sports, ELEVEN Sports, where you can watch the Apotheos match and follow along on local providers. And night all, Abby says National Ice Cream Day on Saturday. Free ice cream at the tailgate. Should have times by tomorrow's show. Remember, we are going to be at Reverb by Hard Rock, 1 o'clock for our kickoff show before you head to the tailgate, before the gates open there at 2:30, 1 to 2. We'll be at Reverb there in the lobby to answering your questions about the Purple Team and all that other kind of stuff. So, Nick, since you have hung out here for basically an hour, and thank you for doing so, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I got to get on the editing. I've been doing a lot of drone flights, and if you need drone flight services,
yes,
check out the wonderful people at Foto di Campo.
Yes, and Franco Panizzo says Lionel Messi, sources telling Franco Panizzo, he trained with Inter Miami for the first time this morning. He even went through the introductory slap tunnel.
Wow.
Welcome. He went through the slap tunnel welcome from his teammates. It's all you say all the time, by the way. They've got like a quad box up. And so fntz.co/soccer down here. You can follow all Messi all the time. Lionel Messi's here. It's like, where are the new phone books? That's where Lionel Messi is these days.
Books.
He is the new phone book, Lionel Messi. So, Nick, send us home.
Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, especially for people all across the globe, like our dear friend Bam. Buona notte, Bam. Until everyone else. Hey, look, Alex, I'm going to try to get back out there, man. I'm going to try to get back out to the Soccer in the Streets fields. But check out Reverb. I'm going to try to make an appearance at the Reverbs. But until next time, everybody, we love you guys so much. Please take care of yourselves and each other in the mortal words of Jerry Springer. Mucha, mucha, Euro, y'all.
What he said. We'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning.